Hello, hello, welcome to Sunday stream, to the swan song, my swan song of my Sunday stream, just for a little bit. I am taking a sabbatical. Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. There was audio skipping in the music, and I think it was just because maybe StreamYard has a little bit of difficulty streaming the music from my website, or it could be a Wi-Fi thing. But Wi-Fi looks great. I really hope. Oh, yeah. Hey guys, 1 second. I need to switch Wi-Fi. 1 second. All right, it looks like we're good to go. It looks like we're good to go. Strangely enough, I think my stronger Wi-Fi, or our stronger Wi-Fi here in the house, is slightly weaker on where I am. And then the weaker Wi-Fi is slightly stronger, so we'll see. We shall see. But I think I have everything I want. I'm still a little congested from my head cold last week, but I did take some Dayquil. Hopefully that helps, and hopefully I don't lose my voice because we're gonna take a nice long time. I mean, this stream could go for 3 hours. I don't know. I I have a lot to say, but I also just like spending time with you too. So I'm making it count. I am making it count. Um, oh yes, I just switched to our Lifeblood Professor Geek. And it looks good now. Just don't know why my computer wanted to switch back. I think it's because I restarted the computer. All right, let's see how the audio's I'm sure fine. I think the audio's fine. And then let's see how video looks. Oh wait, 1 second. I did forget one final thing. I had to add a piece of music to the piano. All right, here we go. All right, does that look good? Yeah, it looks so much better with a piece of music. That's not even piano music, that's my violin music, but I can still, or violin warm-ups or little etudes. But I could use this piano as a music stand. That's great. I have a music stand, but I'm extra prepared. Yeah, so thank you guys for coming to the stream before my sabbatical. I mean, okay, yes, I know. The word sabbatical is usually on leave to travel, especially for a professor traveling and all of that. But I'm sort of taking a sabbatical because it has to do with my creative endeavors. And so I really just want to spend some time in the chat and just talk with y'all and then talk about why I'm taking a sabbatical. Nothing serious, but sometimes when you're doing something like YouTube on a weekly basis, not even as a professional YouTuber, you just kind of have to assess and reassess what's important as far as your schedule. And I came to that conclusion about a week ago or so. So we'll get into that. But let me welcome you all, because I'm not leaving streaming because I don't like it and I don't like you. I like you guys a lot. I love that you guys come on Sundays and hear me speak my opinions. That means a lot to me. I don't take that for granted. And so you guys are all really special and like special to me. And that's not to say I won't return to streaming. It's just for now I'm taking a little bit of a break. So I know, Crystal Ashes is first. See you all soon, friendos. Thank you always for your support, Crystal Ashes. I know Ghost Planet was in earlier, but I guess because it was such an early comment, YouTube chat was cycling through and deleted, so I know Ghost Planet was first. So welcome, Ghost Planet. Brian Gilmartin says, sabbatical, huh? I feel like we could all use a break after the chaos this past week. Yeah, if you guys want to talk about that, I'm more than willing to talk about that, to discuss that with you. Professor Geek had a wonderful stream, just on fire last night with his thoughts, and especially when as it pertains to his experience at the university as a student and as also a college professor. You know, people may ask, "Oh, Professor Geek, are you a real professor?" And it is true, he is a real professor. And my experience at college was a little different. So, but I do have a different take. I would like to say a few things about it, but the condition is I'm not going to have it be the last thing I say because I want it to be happy. I want to talk about a couple different things with my, consuming art, which was at the very end of the summer into September, was Zelda's Majora's Mask, which I have great thoughts on, I think. And then also the pulp fiction hero Solomon Kane, who I really like. So I want to talk about that too. I want it to be a very fairly open-ended discussion on a few different things. But first, my reasons for taking a sabbatical after I talk to you guys. And pray that my voice doesn't give, because I'd like to continue speaking to you. Hello, Big Al Presents. Hope you are doing well and keeping the hubby of yours in line. I think it's the reverse. I think he keeps me in line, as it should be. A Smoke says, Madame SE and other carbon-based life forms. I love that you say that, because carbon-based life, I'm sure I've said this to you or to I love that you greet us like that, because carbon-based life forms is actually an electronic group, I think based out of the UK. If not UK, Europe. I think it's a duo. I think they're in their 40s or whatever. And I love their music. It's great electronic music. I like their earlier stuff. I noticed with newer albums with my favorite electronic artists, with the exception of Stefan Torto, because everything he puts out is amazing. I'm like, oh man, the early aughts, man, that was the prime time when it comes to electronic music, probably both underground, but also more above ground independent. So yeah. Scorpiobio, good to see you. And Private Eye, also good to see you. And Crystal Ashes greeting Private Eye with General Kenobi. I still think Grievous is way scarier in oh man, what's his name? Stover? Matthew Stover's Revenge of the Sith novel. Grievous was legit in that novel. He was like, oh sheesh. He wasn't some character bested by Ahsoka Tano. He was legit. He was frightening. All right. Continuing on down. Stunning and brave Megatron. Good to see you. Good to see you. Always thank you for your support. Dig Outlaw is also in. Author, musician, blacksmith. What else? Doctor. The Eclectic Man. And Ghost Planet, good to see you here. Final Fantasy also, good to see you here. Oh, I need to put up Ghost Planet too. Hi to you. All right. This Joseph's Corner. Looks like you got a project on Kickstarter coming soon. Well, that's good. Is it an animation project? Good on you for that. If you want to drop in the details in the chat, please let us know. Liasu? Man, why does that sound like a Final Fantasy dragon character name? Hello, Engraver. Like the avatar. I look forward to your stream. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. ABL, good to see you too. You're not late. You're just in time. In fact, I think you appeared before the music stopped, so you are just in time. Audio is occasionally skipping, speeding up, slowing down at random. Are you talking about the music? That was on my end too. That is not part of the music. If you go on my website by itself at soundengraver.com, as you know, because you've supported my music, you've bought my albums, the music does not skip. The music does not slow down and speed up. It's kind of like if you've ever been in a Zoom meeting, because I teach online and I use Zoom, and if it's a bad Wi-Fi connection and people freeze, and then the video speeds up to catch up to the present real-time video, that's probably what's happening with StreamYard. Have you other tabs open? No. I am not a tab person. Prof knows this so well. I have students who will share stuff online, and they show me their desktop with whatever they're trying to present to me, and I see like 16 tabs open. I'm like, I'm so squeaky clean when it comes to tabs and desktop. Like, I know people spill their desktop with all sorts of documents and stuff, and I have like, I don't think I have more than 4 or 5 folders at a time on my desktop. All right. But hopefully right now it's fine. All right. Seems fine now, you say, Crystal Ashes. That's good. Audio seems fine for everyone else. No worries. I always love that kind of input. All right. I always enjoy my time here. Yeah, I enjoy you coming here. For sure. All right. Looks like you guys are talking about skipping. Bebop Bandicoot. That's cool. Good to see you. Taking a break is very difficult. What are you saying? Taking a break is very different from saying, I'm done, goodbye. Taking a long sabbatical, you deserve it after so long. Don't forget to have fun and relax. Yeah. I will never be one of those. I mean, I don't even have the following to even do this with any meaning. It wouldn't matter. But I would never be one of those YouTubers saying, I'm done. I'm quitting YouTube. It's like, it's so stupid. It's so contrived, you know? It's like so. In fact, actually, Professor Geek, who's that YouTuber, that bass player, he did a sing-along version of all people quitting YouTube or uploading. Like, I didn't want to upload this, but I did. I didn't want to post this video, but I did. And you can sing along with it because it's actually kind of catchy. I didn't want to quit YouTube, but I did, you know, like. And then I came back. I'm leaving YouTube. No, you won't. And it's so because you see it, even if you like the person, even if you like the YouTuber, you see them following the algorithm. And you know what? My rule of thumb is I just want to make videos I enjoy. Like YouTube is a hobby. It's like gardening for some people or cross stitching for some people. Like they don't do it to sell the cross stitch. They just do it because they like it. They'll give it to a friend. That's how I see YouTube. People might say, no, you see YouTube like that because you haven't made money yet, Sound Engraver. Yeah, actually, I do want to see. I will see that. I haven't seen it yet. I understand it's really good. Let me cough for a second. Oh, Fitzjosos is clarifying not to state the project just yet. That's okay. But hopefully you put it on your channel. All right. All right. So you guys talking about General Grievous in the Clone Wars 2D animation. Yeah. I'm sure I'd be terrified. I'm sure I would be terrified. Yeah. Emil says the thing I hate about Zoom is most of the AI captions completely useless. I just ignore it. I just ignore it. I pay Zoom a fee saying, hey, if you can let me teach lessons back to back with no complications, that's it. That's all I want. That's all I want. All right. Dang, Scorpiopio says one of my PCs I average about 50 plus tabs every day. Well, yeah, it's okay if you have RAM for it. Dude, no. Like, I don't have the RAM for this. I have an old iMac desktop. So I try to be very sparing. Yeah, Danny Savco, or Savco. I didn't want to make this video, but I did. You should check out this. It was the perfect clickbait. It was clickbait I laughed at because he has a thumbnail where he's like, it's over. I didn't want to post this. And then everyone's like, oh no, this is clickbait. And then he does a song about the clickbait. I was like, that's genius. Genius. Yeah, you guys are giving me like PTSD for even thinking that you guys have 20 plus tabs. My prof's inbox is like 2,000 emails. I'm like, don't you just put them in the trash? All right, so I think we all got YouTube Stockholm syndrome. You know, that's probably legit, you know? All right, so So let's talk about me taking a sabbatical from my Sunday streams. So the first thing is, it's not because I don't like streaming. I like streaming a lot. I have so much fun talking to you guys, having discussions, expressing my opinions, some assertive opinions, being cheeky, being serious, being analytical. I love all that stuff. It's very cathartic for me. Very cathartic for me. But I decided, as some of you knew, I took about 7 weeks off, like almost 2 months off from streaming in the summer. And my reason for that was I just needed a break for writing because I had a lot to write about, and I did a lot. I accomplished a lot of writing those Sundays, and then I came back, and then I went for a few more goes. But I started thinking with my schedule. I decided to take a sabbatical because really the main reason, I have a couple reasons. I'll talk about the main reason, and that is it's completely my schedule. So just to be completely frank and personal, because that's what YouTubers do. In the last few weeks, I had faced some heavy anxiety. Not so heavy, but I had, for different reasons in my life, I have bouts of anxiety. It's the thorn in my side, you know. I'm relatively healthy. I'm relatively happy. I'm a happy person, but for whatever reason, this is the thorn in my side that God has presented me with, and for different reasons, sometimes it's withdrawn, sometimes it comes in little fits, and so a couple weeks ago, I started internalizing my anxiety because I did have a fit like last week for different reasons. Like, oh, it's just such a rough day. It was such a difficult day. Um, I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago. Last week was heavy for other reasons, right? And we'll talk about that. But a couple weeks ago, I started internalizing, and maybe you have this, especially as you get older. I started internalizing, I think I have anxiety, and I wasn't really aware. I was like, "Oh, I think it's coming. I think it's coming." And the way I've grown to become a lot more aware of my anxiety through bodily tension. So tension in the neck, tension in the shoulders, tension in the lower back, and also the legs a little bit, or the hips. And tension as a musician is not cool, especially if you're a music teacher. And there was one point where I was just having some fatigue with playing violin or playing piano, and I wasn't aware I was anxious. I was like, I think I'm anxious. I think I'm like, it's a very subdued anxiety because why am I so tense? I'm not eating a lot of sugar. I took sugar out of my diet. I eat sugar during the weekends, but I used to eat sugar like every day. I think I gained like 15 pounds since I've been married. And I'm like, okay, I gotta cut back the sugar. So I'm like, well, I'm eating less sugar. I'm eating healthier. I'm not eating as much processed flour. And so I started assessing and reassessing, why am I so tense? What is making me so tense? And I sort of talked about it with you guys a couple weeks ago. And there are a number of things, but one of the main things, in addition to my job as a music teacher at a music store, was trying to do all my creative interests every single day. Now, as a music teacher and as an artist working, at least mentally on the professional level, I advocate that people practice their craft every single day. Now, I have done that. I've done that for years. I've done that for almost 29, 30 years on the violin. And then I've practiced my craft every day with music composition, a little bit of piano, just a few things. And then I got to the point with the new it's not that new, but with the new academic year, with my students needing to change their schedules and all that, I started to get a little winded mentally. I was just like, and I'm not having more students. In fact, I think I have like 5 students fewer this year. That might change. I might ask for more students. I'd like to stay above 30 students at the store and above 5 or 6 students online. I'd like to stay on average 35 students. That's my number. Can't really go beyond that, but I definitely don't want to go under. So my teaching schedule hasn't been that much more. Why do I feel so tired? Why do I feel so tired teaching? There are a couple other reasons that teaching is exhausting me, with the store. But I'm like, well, no, I don't think it's just teaching. And I was really talking about it with Professor Geek, and I said, you know what? I'm trying to do everything I love every single day. I have been good about not doing music on weekends. I take Sunday off. I don't do anything music related on Sundays. I just can't. Having taught music for 10 plus years and then be in music all the time as a creator and as a musician, I'm like, I gotta have at least Sunday off. And then, and I was fine with that, but then it's like, why am I still feeling so restless? Why am I feeling so anxious about my creative output? Part of it has been deadlines. I've been putting deadlines on myself that I have not met. I've been wanting to output something for October, output something for the summer. And because of my creative flow at this point in my life, it's just not happening. And it's caused a lot of anxiety, just personal anxiety. This is not affecting anyone. It's just like, why haven't I released more music this summer? Why haven't I released more science fiction stories? Just a lot of stuff where I feel a little shaky from that. And I've been trying to do writing every day, music every day. And I've gotten to the point where, at least at this stage of my life, with my work schedule and with my family schedule, I've come to the realization, a hard realization, that I simply cannot do music and writing every day. I tried to do music before going to work, and then I tried to write after going to work, and I still feel wiped. I'm still exhausted. So I've decided to only home in for however long, only home in on my music, my craft in composing and being a musician during the week. And then Saturday night and Sunday is exclusively writing. Now, my first instinct is to say, no, you got to just do a little bit every day. But I've been doing that for years, and it's just kind of culminated to a point where it's like, this isn't the best for me. It's not to say I should say to you who are writers, will only write on the weekend, because that's what's best for me. It's like, no, because I have so many various interests, I have to dedicate days for one thing and dedicate my weekend days for another thing. And music for the week, writing for the weekend. I would love to write every day, but with my profession and with my family schedule, it's only caused anxiety and it's only caused exhaustion. And so that is really the main reason why I'm taking a break from Sunday streams. I just simply don't have the days in the week where I can stream. I teach online at night one day, and then I teach at the store until late, and then I just want to work on composing after that, or reading a book or playing a game. I just want to just take it easy. So Sunday has been the only available day where I can stream. And so it's come to the hard point, like, I just really, honestly, with my workflow and my needing to just constantly be in my craft at a almost leisurely rate, right? Almost as a recreational rate. I'm like, I need to take a step back from streaming and just have a full day of writing. Now, full day, it doesn't have to be like from 8 in the morning to 8 p.m. A full day for me actually could be like a 4-hour stint where I write like 1,500 words, between 1,000 and 2,000 words, in a matter of 3 or 4 hours, or get into research, just devoting that day before having my date night with Prof, just devoting that day to write. And truly, I say to you, I feel at peace with that decision, at least at this stage in my life. Now, my work schedule can change, maybe, and I'll get into that bit in a minute or two here, where Sundays or another day can be available for me to stream. But at this point, my creative workflow, my practice in the craft, and ultimately my output is the most important thing to me. And you have to be honest with yourself as a creator. You have to think, well, I love streaming. I love YouTube. And but you do have to assess, especially if you have a big job and a job that takes a lot of time, and if you have a family, you gotta set your schedule for different things that happen throughout the week because of job and family. And that's where it's at now, where I'm like, you know what? It's not the advice I would give. I would not say you only should write on the weekends. But it's the advice I'm giving myself. I was like, this is what you need to do. So with every writer, with every artist, the schedule is going to be different. Now, here's the thing. Well, I guess I would say, let's say music was out of the equation. Let's say I wasn't a musician. Let's say I wasn't a composer. Let's say I didn't want to release original music. Well, then, yeah, I would write every day, and a stream like this would be just fine. But I have so many interests where I just have to categorize, or I get restless. And I hate that I have anxiety when it comes to something like this. I already have anxiety for other stuff. And I just need to take a chill pill. I need to unlearn a lot too. This is advice I would not give to you. This is advice I'm giving to myself. And it's very hard to unlearn this, but I've decided informally to myself that I'm not giving myself deadlines anymore. I'm going to write the story and it's going to be ready when it's ready. I'm going to release an album when it's ready, whenever that's going to be. I'm not going to say, well, I need to do this in the summer. I need to do this by January of next year. I need to do all this. And that has also caused a lot of tension. And so I'm like, I'm not going to work less. I have work ethic. I'm very productive in my way of practice and creation. But the output will be different from what I was expecting, these several years now, since 2019 when I started releasing music. So it's more of a confession. It's more of just me being honest with you that it's just it's for my spiritual state. It's for my mental state. And you would think that's like, well, no big deal, Sound Engraver. It's just streaming. But it's like, well, there's a lot. Now on my Sunday schedule, Sunday has been a good day for a while to stream. But what's been happening too is I teach Monday through Friday. And then I clean the home. I clean our portion of the house Saturday mornings. Then we go to Mass. Then I spend time with my husband after Mass, after he streams. And then we do our own little work, like he'll play a game or he'll practice bass or I'll write or do whatever, just kind of be in my own zone. And then I have Sunday and then that's it. And that's all my weekend. Now, some people would just come at me and say like, you got Sunday. I don't have weekends. I work 21 days straight. I've seen that. I've seen that with especially younger associates at the store I work at. I'm like, I feel you. I mean, my manager's not getting weekends. It's kind of an unfair situation. But I'm at that point in my life where I'm like I've had parents ask me, well, do you teach weekends? And I'm like, it's a hard no. It's like, no. I need my family. I need my creative time. And the stream, the Sunday streams, which I've loved to do. I have loved to do that so much. They've kind of cramped a little bit of weekend, and then I'm back in teaching. And then I feel like I just haven't had a space. Since taking that break in the summer from streaming, my Sundays feel like full days. Like I'm in the zone writing, I'm listening to ambient electronic music. And man, I'm at peace. Like I do not take these Sundays for granted. And the other thing too is my prof, my husband, we were talking about it. He kind of has this feeling that his weekends are regimented because of my Sunday streams. And he's not placing blame. What we're deciding here is like, oh yeah, because like, we like to sleep in. He's catching up on sleep after being with his daughter for half the week. And then like when he wakes up, he's like, oh, I gotta get breakfast. I gotta, wash up. I gotta practice bass. And then I'm with my wife. And I understand this. I understand this as far as our schedule. that seems cramped. He needs his time for himself. He needs his full day. And so when I took that time off streaming, and I was just in the zone writing for like 3 to 4 hours at a time, and then going on a walk and just taking it easy, he was also taking it easy. We weren't feeling rushed. And so that's not to say we don't like streaming. We do love streaming, but we have to, like, a lot of YouTubers I understand say, oh no, streaming's fun, it's recreational. And it actually is fun and recreational, but it's part of a schedule. And so my taking off Sundays currently will allow him to breathe. I want my husband to be able to relax. I think that's very important that we both just have this breather that is Sunday. Sunday is our Sabbath. We go to mass on Saturday nights, and then we spend time with each other on Sundays for a little bit. And then we are looking forward to having the full Sunday. And so it's just all around been I've been very much at peace. That's not to say I won't miss streaming. I will miss streaming. I wish I had just a little bit more time, but unfortunately, I just need that extra space for writing. My stories are just so important to me that I've got to have that day, that designated day, that sacred Sunday for, prayer, for meditation and scripture, and then for walking, maybe praying a little bit more, maybe listening to a podcast, and then just writing. And then having my date night with my husband. So I am approaching this more like I need this as a Sabbath. It's like, wait, you're not a YouTuber. YouTube's not your job. I'm like, yeah, you're right. But I have to cut something out for the sake of my writing. Now, a couple things with that is it's not like I'm going to be gone forever. I do actually plan on, during the week, recording different things like works in progress. I'd like to continue documenting my original music for different reasons that I've explained on previous streams. And I would also like to work in Super Collider. In fact, I meant to do a Super Collider video this last week. I couldn't talk. I was so severely congested. So I had to take a break from making videos, but I do plan on doing more Super Collider. I do plan on making more videos of my works in progress in Logic Pro. I might do more music score tutorials. I might do Logic tutorials if the time comes or if the opportunity arises. But I do plan on being more active on the fixed video format of YouTube and finding a night. Like, oh, I'm going to do this Tuesday night or Wednesday night. I'll record, I'll edit. It does take time, and it does take time away from my music. The thing is, my videos that I'm looking to is going to be more like, well, I'm doing the work already. So I'm in the zone, I'm in the process already. I'm just actually documenting it. So that's my frame of mind for future YouTube content. And the direction of my channel really will be more music based. It really will be where I'm at as a composer. But I'm sort of placing a rule on myself for every blame it on me. No, I can't blame it on you. I'm sympathizing. I'm making a rule for myself. I still want to talk about some art or some science fiction in a commentary format, like with a phone video. Like I used to do those phone videos. They didn't get a lot of views, but I was very proud of that kind of stuff. But, most of my videos will be music. But maybe for every 10 videos, like for every 10 or 11 music videos, I'd like to do a video on some piece of literature or some piece of science fiction or some video game. I've been writing scripts for the soundtracks and analysis for Donkey Kong 2 because I'd like to post videos definitely before November, at least 4 videos before November. I know that's coming up. I shouldn't think about it too hard. But I'd like to do videos that I'm proud of. I tell you what, guys, the videos that I'm most proud of, they don't get the most views. They get actually comparably few views. like under 200 views. And I'm not proud of that, but I'm the content, it's content I'm proud of. And I thought to myself, I'm like, if I just treat YouTube as a thing of archiving my thoughts in real time, archiving and documenting my works in progress in real time, and I treat YouTube like a hobby, to me, then it doesn't matter the viewership. Like, I just want to document things that I'm proud of. And yeah, I might gain some traction for that. I probably will gain a little bit more traction if I just focus on music. But I want to talk about stuff like retro reviews. I want to talk about, give my thoughts and insight on a game like Majora's Mask, or a Pulp Fiction hero like Solomon Kane, which we will talk about on stream, hopefully. Uh, you know, uh, Goodness willing, if I don't lose my voice. But anyway, that's my reason for taking the sabbatical. One sec, let me grab a thing of water real quick. The other thing too is that in addition to my composing and writing, I'm making it an endeavor to, a very serious endeavor to create a robust music education experience online. I am very grateful for teaching music at a store, and I'll continue for as long as the job is sustainable. And I'll continue with my online students. In fact, if I could find a way to teach exclusively online, I would. Right now, I don't have enough students for that. I've been very grateful for this job at this music store, but there are times when I'm teaching a lesson. Excuse me. There are times when I'm teaching a lesson, and I reveal a concept. I say something about music. I impart some knowledge of music, and I'm so proud. And I asked Prof if he explains this, or if he experiences this too, as a professor of literature and English writing and composition. And he says, oh yeah. Like, I asked him, do you ever have a lecture where you just really feel like, I have this? Not only do I have this, not only can I teach effectively, not only do I have the love of teaching and imparting some real golden nugget of knowledge when it comes to music, I feel like I can teach it in a very unique way. Like, it's special to me. There are moments, especially with my more intermediate advanced students, there are moments where they ask me something like, well, why can't I think about it this way? And I'm like, this is why. And there are moments where I'm just so proud of how I can teach. I've been teaching for about 10 or 11 years now, after getting a few degrees in higher education. And I'm like, you know what? I'm very grateful for my job at the store. I'm very grateful for the online students that I have. But I think I can actually make a very robust music education online learning experience that adheres to the old methods. Like this guy here. I need to study him more, but he's an older method editor, violin editor of violin mechanics, of musical mechanics. Why? Like, I know how to teach violin the right way, not just my way, the right way. How to effectively play violin in the most expressive way and also the most effortless way. When people say, wow, she has mastery, not to me, but anyone, like he or she has mastery over this instrument, and they look like it's effortless. And you know what? Yeah, it's really hard, but it is effortless because I'm doing things that you can't do because I'm very relaxed. It's like a gymnast, like, how does that gymnast do it? Well, I'm like, years of practice, years of trial and error. But when you get to that level of mastery, it is effortless. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard and effortless, but you're not straining yourself. So things like in the way of musical mechanics, physical mechanics, things like music theory, music history, why music works the way it works, I can teach that. And I'm so proud of myself for having accomplished that, because teaching does take practice. Teaching is its own instrument you have to learn to be proficient in. And I feel like I can go beyond the physical store. And I'm grateful for my students at the store. I'm not saying I'm leaving the store, I'm leaving my students, but I'm like, I could do this for more than 30 people. I could do this for more than 100 people. I think I have the ability. I'm 38 years old, and so I decided to make an endeavor. I would actually like to make a very long-term endeavor with music education as a music educator. I used to hate that term, or I used to be like, I'm not a music educator. I'm a music educator, and I'm proud to have that title. I'm not just a teacher, I'm an educator. I'm not in the formal institution. This is just private. This is just one-on-one instruction or consultation. But I'm like, I have so much I can give to maybe millions of people. I'm not saying that's my goal, but I could do way more than 30 people. Now, I'm limited with my schedule now. That's why it's 30 to 40 people, because I only have so many hours in a day, and people are busy too, you know? And so I have decided I'd like to make an endeavor to build a music education experience that can reach out to many people. This endeavor will take at least a decade, but that's also where I'm working on with my music and my craft, not just with composing, but with just making just pedagogy, the traditional mechanics, the traditional teaching of what music is, what music means to us, what art means to us. I've been talking about art, but specifically in the way of music. This music educator endeavor it will probably be a decade. It'll probably be when I'm 50 years old before I see the fruit of my ambition. But it's an ambition nonetheless, and that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of dedication on top of my composing, on top of my sci-fi writing. So there's just a lot I want to do, and I just have to chisel away. And part of that process is to say, okay, what's important? What's the most important on my schedule? And so that's where I'm coming from too. So that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of reasons. That's a lot of assessment. That's why that was a lot to talk to you guys about. Why I'm for now leaving Sunday streams. That's not to say I won't come back for one special stream during the holidays, but I can't guarantee it. If I do a stream, it'd be like a special occasion. But again, I'm not thinking about that right now. I just had a train of thought. No, I think that's everything there. Let's see what you guys have to say. And guys, this is gonna be a long stream. I have a feeling it's gonna be a long stream. So let's see what you all are saying. Brian, let's see if I'm going back. Let's see. Final Fantasy fan, if you can clarify your question, you say, I'll just put up everyone's comments, provided they're relevant. You say, so what are some things to look out for when you're a believer? I don't know the context of your question, but if you want to specify, I'm happy to answer that. Guys all talk about tab numbers. Brian Gilmartin says, as someone who has dealt with anger issues in his younger years, I can understand how anxiety might take a mental toll on you. You know what I'm grateful for? Yeah, I have anxiety. Yeah, it's a thorn in my side. And maybe that's what you're leading to for Private Eye with the spiritual context. I do have anxiety. It stinks. I don't like it. I wish I didn't have it. I wish I just had the mental disposition of a stone. But one thing I'm grateful for is I do not have depression. I remember having one small wave of depression. Can't even remember when, but I remember it went away. I'm like, I'm glad I don't have that. And I don't think I have I don't think it will come back. I'm just not a depressed person. But I can sympathize with people with depression. I don't like having anxiety, but it's something I prayerfully deal with on a daily basis. Maybe that's what your question was, Private Eye. Um, I have eternity to look forward to. I can't imagine having anxiety, not believing in God, not believing in a higher order of things. I'm not saying you must. It's your prerogative to believe whatever you want. You have that free agency. But boy, like when we talk about death and we witness tragedy, it's like I couldn't do. I don't know how I could handle it without believing there is something more to this than the life we see. Sarah Proctor mentions Brave browser. I used to do that. I don't know why I stopped doing that. A new thing they do is put tabs that haven't been used for a few hours to sleep until reawakened when it clicked on again. I think I remember something like that. I bet that you say it's a new thing. Interesting. Crystal Ashes says, my mouse went dead for a second. I understand. I don't like putting deadlines on myself just for that reason. I thought I could do it. I thought I was one of those, like, I have good work ethics, Like, I go, man. I keep going. Only, Prof knows how hard I work at my stuff. So you would think a hard worker who can create a lot of output, you'd think she could give herself some deadlines, and it's just not worked. It's not worked. Maybe it will work in the future. Like maybe between 50 and 60 years old, it's something I can do, but right now it's not. Right now I just need to approach it differently. Asa says, well, when you make time in your schedule to write, all the best ideas will still be in your mind. That's one writer I follow. One writer I follow says he does. Absolutely. I daydream about my stuff during the week. Like daydreaming on a walk or going to work. I'll think about my stories. I'm always thinking about my stories. And not in an exhausting way either. It's not, I don't feel like, oh, I'm kind of getting sick of my stories. If there's a one chance I get sick of my story, then I'll think about something else. But the interest will come back, and I have never experienced that. I have never experienced creative fatigue. I don't think ever. I don't think I can, and I don't want it. Stunning and Brave, Megatron says, I used to try doing a schedule for my draw streams, but now I just do whatever I want since I started taking more out of town work. I don't have as much time to plan things out. Yeah, when you have a change in schedule of any kind, you gotta consider where the creativity falls. And sometimes it's to admit saying, you know what, I don't have the same amount of time. Something to I should give you some context as well, is when I lived in Little Rock and I had a receptionist job for 3 years, it was 8 to 5. I had to get up at 5, get ready, pack a lunch, whatever, and have a pretty, not big commute, but big enough. It was a good, with traffic, it was a good 45 minutes. I'd have to go, get ready to work 8 to 5, have a lunch hour at 12 to 1, and then clock out at 5. 8 to 5. Well, the thing is, with that job, it was full-time, Monday through Friday. With that schedule, I did only work on my music in the evenings. And then Sundays were my science fiction days. And I remember at that time with that schedule, I only wrote Sundays. And people do say, you gotta write every day. And I agree with that. I am in full support. If you can write every day, you need to write every day. It's just gotta be working with your schedule, for sure. Bebop says, that's good. Break up your time between things you do from each other. That's how you alleviate your anxiety. Cutting YouTube out removes the stress, drama, and pessimism from being online. Yeah, well, with my YouTube experience, and I agree with you, with my YouTube experience, I don't focus on the pessimism. I don't focus on... For my channel, I don't think I focus on the drama. Have I been dramatic? And some people make money off of that, and that's their way of doing it. I'm not gonna go against that, but I can see, yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, I can see all. I can see where people want to harvest the drama, and then I can see where people will just like enough. I can expect people to be burned out though with that kind of stuff, but maybe not. Maybe it'll take 10 years. Megatron says you stick with Saturdays, but you're not married to the idea much anymore. Um, what did you phrase badly? I might have missed that. What he said was to leave your last idea. I know I thought you phrased it fine. What he said was to leave your last idea from your time writing in your mind and don't commit it to paper so that the next time you go to doing it right, it stays in your mind if it's good. You're Well, I don't think you phrased it poorly before, but I'm glad you extemporized. Yeah, that was that's really good writing advice. Because what you're doing is your imagination is germinating good things. And also simultaneously, I might add, eliminating the things that don't work. Eliminate the bad, keep the good. And I think that's right. Yeah, have it as a kernel in your mind. And I daydream about scenes all the time. In fact, just this week I was daydreaming how, and this would be for the second book of my long fiction, and I'm not even on the second book, but I wrote it out before many years ago. Like it was its own separate thing, and I had it in mind for many years. But I'm trying to like would that work? Oh, maybe this character is actually in this situation in this setting because of this. Like you're thinking along those lines. And it improves your writing. Your thinking improves your writing because why? Because Professor Geek says writing is thinking. Thinking is writing. Thinking is writing. It's a tandem. It's like like those bike tandems with two seats. That's what it is. Amy L says, "Oh yeah, YouTube is a huge time drain. Wikipedia too, if you're into that. Not too much, although like I sort of have defaulted to Wikipedia, preferring that to AI, even though Wikipedia has probably fallen victim to AI. But I can't I gotta ignore the AI overviews. What was I looking at? Dang, I was gonna ask a question about AI. I can't remember. Dang it! But basically, I was asking a question about AI and where's AI in this? And it was to, ironically, it was the AI overview. It was a negative thing I was asking about AI, and there was an AI overview. I was like, take me to Reddit, for goodness sake. Oh man. Brian Gilmartin says, I like having days off too. They're about the only time I can engage with my own hobbies without anything getting in the way. Yeah. Have a job where you just don't take your work with you home, whether evenings or at night or on weekends. Ace says, do you think if your schedule permitted it down the line, you'd mix other people's albums, like an indie folk album? I'm really, to be honest, Ace, I'm not at that stage. It's all my time and concentration just to do my own stuff. I used to, again, this could change over time. Like, this could change in 10 or 15 or 20 years. But at this stage, it's like, it can only be my original stuff. Because it's not gonna be long before I'm 40. And it's like, I got less time now. If there's any collaboration in my future, it's because it's like something I can't refuse. Now, what's one example? If Dream Theater saw my violin playing, strange, random, happy stance, sees my violin playing, says, and if they did an album I was interested in, because actually recently they've done albums where I'm like, it's okay. But like, or if Jordan Rudess had an idea for an album and he's like, can I have your violin playing? Yeah. I'm, I'm gonna, I think he's in New York or whatever. I'm gonna go to New York and maybe he's in California. I'll take a trip and I'll do a whole week worth of recording and collaboration and then be done. But no, I think collaborations are good, but they're not for everyone. I think some people are great with collaborations. I mean, I just saw a wonderful music video. Oh, what's her name? This beautiful artist, this young artist. What is her name? I just subscribed to her. She collaborated with the singer and saxophonist who also could play keyboard. She could play drums. She actually can do, she's a multi-instrumentalist. She can do a lot of stuff. And they did this wonderful live loop session on on Hollywood Hills. Beautiful sunset or beautiful kind of, it was a beautiful music video. That kind of collaboration I love. But I can see where other people can do it. I would like to do it in the future. There's no way I can put it in my schedule now. Not even if it's a very enticing project. I'm just not there. I hate to be kind of a Debbie Downer about it, but it's like there's so much in here that I have not outputted yet. And I've life is short. You know what I mean? Life is short. And you know. But like if there was an artist that I just couldn't refuse. Like someone I already listened to, someone I already like, you want to collaborate with me? Well, let's do it. But yeah, that's probably as far as it goes right now. And as far as mixing other people's albums, I don't think I could even do that as paid work. That it takes a lot of practice. Sorry. Um, yeah, Bebop says you haven't been here in a long while. How is your book going? It's going great. What is your science fiction story? Is it reminiscent of older works such as Asimov and Heinlein? Well, maybe not my long fiction. Why don't I just bring that up? Maybe not my long fiction, but my short stories do. I'm writing my, well, I'm not writing my second one. I'm actually writing my fourth one right now. They point a little bit more to the pulp. Not like completely out, I don't want to say outdated writing, not writing of old, not writing of the 1930s or 40s or earlier, not even out of the 1970s. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm working on these chronicles of sorts, very short little accounts, journal entries of an alien outcast. And he, among his race, so far as the only alien race I've come up with, I love his character so, so much. And it's a little, I was starting, I wrote the first draft like several months ago and I revisited it. It was like, oh geez, this is so choppy. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's not good at all. It's very mediocre. And then I just started rewording everything and putting things to the front that needed to be put to the front. And then I started like, oh yeah, he's journaling his accounts of his whereabouts as a survivalist on the surface of his hostile, dark, barren world. And I'm not going to describe the world until I publish it because it's a great idea and I don't want people to take it. So my short fiction actually probably will, not all the stories that I write, but I can't help it. And maybe because I like that pulp stuff, it's a little pulpy. Just a little bit. It's still, you can imagine like, oh yeah, she did write in this year, 2025. You could still see it, but it does point to what's been just a little bit. Aw, Crystal Ashes. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships, even though I'm leaving you. I'm not leaving you. I'm just leaving the streams. I appreciate that. Thank you. I always appreciate your support and also your support with your purchasing my singles and my albums. You've always supported my music. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. I mean, always support my channel. It's just $2 a month. I will do more videos, and if you just like me as a person and want to pay $2 a month for someone you like, I deeply appreciate that. I don't really have any perks. I only have my good nature. Let's see. Let's see. Yes, I think that's a good point, Crystal Ashes. Don't feel like you're obligated to upload new videos. Upload whenever you feel like it. And I'm also putting that on myself as well. You're absolutely right. Sorry, guys, I've got to cough a sec. All right. Bebop asks, what is your particular favorite genre of science fiction, if not just overall genre itself? To be completely honest, it's whatever science fiction is well written. I know that's vague. So for instance, I do not default to military sci-fi, but Stargate as a television series, and I know there have been novelizations of the stories, is military sci-fi. It's sci-fi military exploration. And I love Stargate because the show is really well written. So I can't say, well, I'm never reading military sci-fi. Well, in the way of Stargate, it's pretty interesting. Um, I love pulp fiction that's well written. Um, I, I will always love and always appreciate Asimov's trilogy. I will always discard his prequels and sequels of that trilogy. Do not like it, but I have high respect for Asimov as a writer, concerning his trilogy, his Foundation trilogy, and also his short stories involving robots. I haven't read his novels involving robots. I still need to. So I like Asimov. I appreciate Ray Bradbury. I need to read more Bradbury. He's more speculative sci-fi and speculative fantasy, but I do put Bradbury in the camp there. I've really appreciated H.G. Wells and reading his stories, especially Time Machine and especially War of the Worlds. I still need to read more H.G. Wells. But I still need to, I feel like even having read sci-fi in the last 15 years, I still need to keep reading. Like, I think I've only scratched the surface. A lot of sci-fi today, I'm reading Shelley currently. I'm very slow at it. I do enjoy Shelley by Doug Brody. That's sci-fi I like. The setting is sci-fi in Washington, D.C. It's sci-fi in America, but the setting is a bit futuristic. You can kind of see it as the near future, but you also see it as sci-fi. Um, it's got some advanced technology. So, but anything that's well written, like I really can like any kind of sci-fi that's well written. So there we go. Let's continue on down. Thank you. Well, good luck with your story too. Did you publish your story yet? Because I know you said you were working on a book cover. Or are you in the works of publishing that? Just let us know. All right. I will say, guys, thank you guys for talking about AI because it always needs to be discussed. I feel like I've said everything I've wanted to say about AI. And I do have other things to talk about. And this is going to be a long stream. So there's going to be some restroom breaks and getting water and stuff. This is going to be we're gonna have fun tonight, I guess. But I'll read your comments on AI, but I won't go too much into AI because I do want to talk about other stuff. But Megatron says something about good news about AI art is that there are ways for artists to help prevent their art from being stolen now. There are a few sites programs that basically corrupt the image. Yeah, yeah. It's called cloaking, and I approve. Um, let's see. Speaking of AI, You were originally going to do a self-published thing on Amazon KDP, but recently I've been hearing about Amazon slipping in their terms of service for AI. I'll look into that because my one story I've published this last year, last March, is on Amazon KDP, but you know, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, but I do appreciate that concern, Samuel Proctor, concerning Amazon. Just so true. So true. So no modern country sound engraver remix. No. No. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. Yeah, Edgar Rice Burroughs. Yeah. I'm just it's not sci-fi, but I'm so enjoying the Savage Tales of Solomon Kane. I don't have too much to say. I might have a lot to say about Solomon Kane because he's such a good character. He is getting up there among my favorite fictional heroes. Up there with Van Helsing, Batman. He's not an aspirational hero, but he's a great character. But we'll talk about him later. Uh, yeah, Bebop says, honestly, I've grown to love the pulps now more than ever, especially pulp heroes, even more than comic book superheroes. Yeah, like, we'll talk about Solomon Kane soon. But actually, if we are talking about what's happened this week, let me take a break because I want to talk about that first, kind of get that out of the way, and then we'll talk about a couple other fun stuff. So I deleted I exited out of um, my sound engraver. Let me share that again. I'm gonna use a quick restroom break. What should I play now? What should I play now? Maybe Azure's a little long. I don't expect to be too long. These are great, but they're kind of long too. Let's do well, let's do a primitive supposition. I'll be right back. All right, thank you guys so much for waiting. You want those that music that's available on my website for free streaming, but always support indie artists, of course, within reason. Support the artists you like. You don't have to support every indie artist. So let me stop sharing there. And okay. So if you guys wanted to talk about about this week, what has happened in America, but it's resonating with really all the world. I on the one hand, it's like, well, do I need to express my opinion because everyone has doubled over and giving their feedback, rightfully so. I think the heaviness of the situation is what needs to be talked about. As with every decent American, we've been processing this horrible tragedy involving Charlie Kirk. And I while my channel is predominantly music and art, and I never want to go into the political situation or political discussion until I have need for it. And this is just one of those things that I think for now, I will say, I will give my thoughts on it. And it might be the same as everyone else's thoughts. I don't know about you, but when something like this happens, I don't go immediately to different people's opinions and discussions. I take a couple days and I just process it on my own. It's not to say no one should talk about it. It's not to say, oh, well, you're just just using the tragedy as a way to get more views on YouTube or get more clicks or whatever on your website. Now, I mean, it needs to be discussed. Like, no matter what the motives are, this kind of thing that has happened to us, facing this horrible tragedy as Americans, it needs to be discussed. And hopefully I offer a little bit of a different take than some people. But I'd like to talk about it just for a little bit in all seriousness. I've had now 4.5 days to process it and to really think about it. And I mean, I'm sure I have many things to say about it, but there are a couple things, at least two things that I wanted to talk about. And that is really why America rightfully, justly mourns for the loss of Charlie Kirk. Now, I will front it with this. I knew of Charlie Kirk. I had seen some of his dialogue with different students on college campuses, but very intermittently. Like, I didn't go to his channel or go to his movement or his foundation. I knew of him. I knew what he did. I've seen maybe one or two interviews where he would be interviewing someone I was already listening to. I think, like, namely Jordan Peterson. And I remember probably it was that interview with Peterson where I'm like, wow, this guy's so young. He has his whole life ahead of him, and he's ready to do things that people just weren't willing to do. And I'm not blaming them. I'm just, it wasn't in my nature or vocation to do something like what Kirk was doing. Now, so I knew of him. I didn't follow him exclusively. I just knew what his influence was. And to be honest, I don't know if I would agree with everything. Sorry, I got some water there. Sorry. Should have gotten a paper towel for that. Spilled some water. To be honest, I don't know if I would agree with everything. Maybe I would have agreed with everything he said. I just didn't listen to him specifically. But whether I would agree or disagree is not the point. But I want to talk about why America mourns. More than, and I want to say this carefully, what ripped our hearts out with this event, even more than the devastating event that we saw earlier that week with Charlotte and the girl who fell victim to a brutal attack. All of that is also horrific. Why is America mourning over Charlie Kirk? Even those who didn't listen to him. There are two reasons that I'm going to say. The first reason is that this was an assassination. Now, what does that mean? It was a murder. And people say, well, what gives? I mean, people get murdered based on crime all the time. We just witnessed a murder on a train in Charlotte, and people were still there and didn't do anything about it. But an assassination is a murder, but not all murder is an assassination. What does that mean? The assassination is the brutal witness of someone's getting killed. I wish I said that a little bit better. An assassination is a public witness, a public frenzy of witnessing someone die. Either on the spot, I think he was taken somewhere. I don't know the full story, but witnessing someone get shot. And hundreds of people witnessed it. Hundreds of people, they have that on their brains, in their memories forever. I'm only seeing it from hindsight or from the future. In fact, I was teaching all day. I was away from my phone all day before Professor Geek asked me, did you hear about Charlie Kirk? I'm like, no. And then when he told me the news, I started just spending hours processing it. And you kind of have to spend the time processing such a tragedy. Now, I never want to lessen the crime of a murder on the train or in the back darkness of an alley. Murder is murder, no matter who is the victim, whether you like them or don't like them, whether you agree with them, don't agree with them, whether you hate their ideas or support their ideas. Murder is murder, and it ought not to happen. But the public murder, that is the assassination of Charlie Kirk, it's something distinct. It's something that ought to be historic because it's so devastating. Now, I want to be really careful saying this. I want to say this with every respect of our present day President Donald Trump. We had, as Americans, witnessed the attempt on Donald Trump's life back over a year ago, in the summer of 2024, July of 2024. And praise God, he was spared. People did die and were injured because of that horrible attempt on our president's life. And I will never say, or never want to say anything that would lessen the solemnity of that event. That is a very sobering thing, that we almost saw a presidential candidate lose his life because of someone's hatred toward him. We didn't, thank God, thank the Lord, we did not. That President Trump was spared. But I want to say this carefully. As horrific as that would have been, as horrific as that would have been to see our presidential candidate lose his life, there's a little bit of a difference. I want to say this very carefully. There's a little bit of a distinction between our president now and Charlie Kirk. And this is a very, very serious distinction I'm making. We never want to see an assassination attempt on anyone who's decent, no matter if you disagree or agree. But with Donald Trump, or with any presidential candidate, we don't want to see it. We pray it doesn't happen. But there's almost this expectation, like if it happened, it would be heartbreaking, it would be tragic, but there's almost this, we expect it, because he held, or he is holding presently, the highest station of public office in our nation. The station that is the President of the United States, presidents have been assassinated, unfortunately. We don't want to see it. We pray to God it does not happen. But with holding a public office of any kind, whether you're a congressman, a president, a senator, a mayor, like if you make policy, there is that risk. If you are a public figure holding a political position, a political station, there is that risk. We all know in our hearts that that risk is always going to be there, even with the best security, even with the best preemptive measures. There's always that risk, not just with political offices, but with things like a military office, like a general, a colonel, a commander of some kind, a leader of some kind who makes very specific decisions for our nation's defense and our nation's offense. However, military is dealt out as this nation. So we never want to see this. We never want to see a brutal public killing of anyone. If you're a decent human being, you don't want to see that. You don't want to witness that. You don't want it to happen to victims. You don't want to see the tearing of the soul regarding families and children and everyone involved. You don't want to see that. But the public and the people holding that station or a public office, a political office, there's got to be some, unfortunately, there is some expectation that comes with holding a political station. It could happen. We don't want it to happen, but it could. I didn't think I was going to feel teary-eyed for this because I've been processing it, all this. So I'm not going to cry. But with Charlie Kirk, it's sobering. It's a very sobering difference from a presidential candidate because he is not holding a political office. He is not in the military. He is not a policymaker. He's not a writer of law. He doesn't do anything that will change the economy or the infrastructure for our nation. He was a civilian, and his biggest crime was discourse. His biggest crime was having a dialogue with people who would disagree with him. He didn't change law. He didn't run for Congress. He didn't run for the presidential seat. He was a civilian who, his only crime, and I'm saying that sardonically because it's not a crime, his only offense was that he had a major movement with a major audience. But he was a man with a whole lot of profound talent to have a discussion. And all he did, whether you like him or not, or disagreed with him or agreed with him, all he did was uphold the virtuous vocation that is argumentation. He knew how to make an argument. He knew how to go up against people who would come at him all the time, especially on the college campuses. So for his ability to make an argument, and because of his influence with his audience and his movement, that's what took his life. He had no political station, no military station. He was a civilian. And that's what took his life, because he had the audience and he had the ability to change minds. That's what took his life. So what's the difference between a man like Charlie Kirk and my husband, Professor Geek? There is no difference. The people, if Professor Geek had a physical location to speak publicly, and he had an audience like Charlie Kirk, he would have that risk now. We're all at risk just for being, having the offense, partaking in the offense of having a dialogue, an exchange. And I don't care who is at the podium, someone I would agree with, someone I would be vehemently against. They have the right to speak. Ideas are ideas. You can take them, you can leave them. But ideas are not violence. People are convincing themselves that his words were violence, that he was a divisive character. It's like he didn't come at his debaters with a knife, with his fists. His only thing was he engaged with argumentative rhetoric. Having an argument, having a discussion, having a dialogue ought to be the most basic right of any serious American citizen, or any American citizen. And even if you had, the ideas that other people would scoff at or disagree with, like, oh my gosh, you're way off base. It's like, did he deserve to die? Did he deserve to lose his life? Did his family deserve to witness the killing? Like, by all accounts, his only offense were his ideas. He didn't attack. It's not even like, some people are saying like, oh, well, he was such a divisive character that like he should have seen it coming. It's like, you're comparing a man who's able to debate with some riot leader. Okay, let's say there's a riot leader who stirs up violence and who stirs up burning buildings and arsonry and all that stuff. And then in a whole tumult of violence and gunfire, the leader dies. Maybe from that point, I would understand, well, maybe he had it coming. And I want to say that carefully. Like I never want to see the death of anyone. Like, even a riot leader burning buildings. It's like, the death is sobering. Speaking from experience, I know everyone is different. This is my channel. This is just my opinion. My own experience. I remember, and you feel free to disagree with me. This is just how I see it as someone who believes in the afterlife and who believes in eternal salvation and eternal damnation. This is how serious death is to me. I remember when the military finally captured and took out Osama bin Laden. Now, I wasn't watching TV at the time. I was walking to a bus stop. My bus stop was a good quarter mile from my house. And I was passing this landscape truck, like a truck of a landscaper with all his tools and stuff, and he wasn't there. But the truck was parked, idly parked, and the radio was on. And right when I passed that truck with the window open and the radio was on, I learned that Osama bin Laden had been executed. Now, it was the thing to do, but I remember being sobered by that, because it's like, this is a terrorist who lost his life, and he's facing hell. That's how serious it is to me. And I remember just taking it in, like, this had to be done. But then I saw when I was on Facebook at the time, or social media, and people were so disgusted by people dancing in the streets. Now, if you were one of those people dancing in the streets over the death of Osama bin Laden, I'm not disparaging against you, because he was an enemy to our nation. He had to be stopped. What the U.S. did had to be done. There was no other way of going about it. But I didn't triumph because I knew he was facing eternity. This is what I believe. You don't have to believe this. This is just my experience internalizing it. And I remember people, my liberal friends, being so disgusted by the celebration of his death and people dancing in the streets and stuff like that. And because of how I was internalizing it, I was like, yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think this should be a sober thing. Like, it had to be done, but it's a sober thing. But I wonder now, if my liberal friends at college back then, I wonder if they if they're okay with people saying the vilest of things to a man who lost his life, brutally, publicly lost his life. It's like, is there no shame? Like, where's the decency? You don't have to like him. You don't have to like his ideas. But you, death should be a serious thing. It should always be a serious thing. No matter how we die, if we die of ripe old age or if we die in an accident or die of cancer, death should always be a serious thing. And what I am saying, and we've seen this, we've channels that you follow, that I follow, we've seen this, people call this out. There's become in our society a cult-like worship of death, a cult-like devotion to death, especially of those people that we don't like. That's very serious. That's one of the most serious things about this whole tragic situation is the rejoicing in the death of an innocent man who did not cause any riots or violence. His only offense was his ideas. That was the only offensive thing, just having ideas. But that's what this country has been based on. That's how this country was founded, was the battle of ideas. You think the founding fathers all agreed and all had kumbaya? It's like, oh yeah, we should have this country go in this direction now that we've defeated the British. No, the reason why the American experiment and the founding of our nation was a brutal experiment. We were facing riots, crime, military intervention. Because why? Because all our founding fathers differed on different things. They came in solidarity as Congress to beat the British, but then after the British went away and we had debt to pay the French and all that, and I'm surprised we survived as America. Why? Because we were based, the foundation of our country is a battle of ideas. And that ought to be protected. And the fact that a man brutally, violently lost his life because of his ideas ought to get us very sober as Americans. I know some of you are listening who are not in America, but very sober as Americans. The very fabric of our living, our existing as Americans is the thread is thinning. It hangs on a thread, a very, very thin thread. This is what the assassination means, and this is why America is mourning. I mean, for many different reasons, because it's such a horrible thing. But some people are being so callous and saying, why is everyone just revering him as a saint? And, he had bad ideas and stuff like that. It's like, we're not mourning his death just because of his ideas. We're mourning his death because his life was taken from him because of his ideas. His ideas never incited violence. His ideas never incited riots. Our nation is built on the battle of ideas, and it's your right to have your own ideas, whether I find your ideas repugnant, evil. You have the right to have those ideas. God will be the judge when it comes to it, but you have the right to have those ideas. I have the right to speak my own ideas, whether on this platform, if the platform allows, or just to have those ideas. But the only difference between me and Charlie Kirk is I don't have a platform like he had. If I said the same thing, if I had expressed a virtually profoundly talented way of argumentation and saying my arguments with all confidence, and I had an audience, and I had the ability to get people to think, my life would be taken. That's what this whole tragedy amounts to as Americans. And it's wrong. It ought to be fought, and Professor Geek on his stream last night said wonderfully that we should not remain silent. And the thing is, the people who have cheered at the silencing of Charlie Kirk's ideas, you lost. The fire has been stoked, and it's been blazed 10 times brighter because of this horrible tragedy. You may have silenced the man, but you did not silence his ideas. You did not silence his legacy. I have a feeling more people will follow his footsteps because of this tragedy. And that's it. That's all I have to say regarding this horrible tragedy. But that's why America's mourning. And people are they're being so offended. Like, why are people lifting him up like a saint? I'm like, we're not saying he's a saint, but we are saying why we're mourning. And that's what I have to say. No one, we ought never to witness an assassination of anyone in this country. That's how serious it is. Anyway, gotta drink some water, and I'll be right back. All right, let's continue on down. Talking about your pulp heroes. This is we're talking about Solomon Kane. This is gonna be a long stream, guys. It's gonna be one of my longer streams. You're right. Robert E. Howard, his writing feels so raw yet strangely poetic at the same time. Not only that, it seems present in our present day. Like you can listen to it. Yeah, there are some modes of expression that are a little bit outdated, but that's just he wrote for his time. But it's if the writing is good, it's gonna last beyond his generation. Yeah. Samuel, you say your brother goes to UVU, still hasn't had classes um, until this Thursday after what happened. Wow. Yeah. Gee. Um, Amiel says particular topic is best not talked about until we figure out his real views first. I don't know if you're talking about Charlie Kirk, but if you are, it doesn't matter. Um, our God-given rights as Americans is we can say or think whatever we want. That's not to say what we say is without consequences. Speech should be free, but if there is something inappropriate or if there is something unlawful or if there is something that incites violence, then yes, there should be lawful consequences. Um, but I don't know if you were talking about Kirk himself, but um, ideas should not be silenced with violence. I just, it just should not be. And if people believe that, then they should look to going and living in another country. Samuel Proctor says, according to the official story, it looks like the assassin was just one of those very students he would have debated with that took it much further than just debate. Again, that's the official story. I haven't read on all the developments of the story. I understand he might have had a scholarship or something. And I again, you guys might disagree. You might find me way off base, but I found myself praying for a complete uproot and overhaul of the universities. I found myself praying, not as serious as the prophet Elijah, praying for famine against the wicked nation of Israel. Not that serious, but I prayed for a starvation of universities. College kids are, I mean, I'm not saying all of them, but this kind of thing, if it's incited in the system of the higher education, that's cause enough to completely uproot the entire university system. And I want to go back to pre-enlightenment. I want to go. That's the college I want to go back to. Yeah, Samuel Proctor brings up the point. Kirk was a few years away from being eligible for the presidency. I mean, I didn't know him enough to know what his agenda was, but I figured I never saw him like. I don't think he wanted to be an official of any kind. That could be. Always looked cool. 729. I don't think I've seen you before. Welcome. You say the guy who did it to Charlie was known for being a left wing conspiracy theorist. Um, it's people who are sapped with ideology of any kind, and I'm really praying that we do not resort to violence. Only out of self-preservation for yourself or your family. That's as far as I go. We don't need to riot over this. We just need to take heart and take courage to keep doing what someone like he was doing. Yeah, Bebop says, I understand what you're trying to say. You'd expect it to happen to Trump because of his position. You don't want it to happen to anyone, whether it's a president you like or don't like. But the political office does have that risk. We have that expectation. And then you say, but not for Charlie because it was so out of place and non considering, yet it did happen. I mean, this ought to be historical as with any other assassination. Martin Luther King Jr., the political assassination of Kennedy, Congress people who are being shot at. I mean, this ought to be historical. So I hope, I really hope it doesn't go away. I hope we still talk about this. Final Fantasy says, I do think that the left do understand the consequences of that assassination, but they don't care so long as they get what they want. So blaming their own opponents to cover they're behind. Yeah. Some people are saying that people might think, well, these shooters are doing it out of a moral obligation because they think these people are so wicked. That may be true. They may feel like they have a higher moral order of things. That's what's been thrown out there. I'm gonna say, at this rate, maybe true. I think it's just evil. I don't even think they're considering any morality. They just want to take people they don't like down because it's evil. And yeah, but who knows? Bebop says it's as if we're entering a new 300 years of persecution, like the first 3 centuries of Christianity. We have gotten so soft as a nation because of our, modern day comfort that you kind of think that might not happen, right? Here's what I'm going to say as a Christian and as an American. Just because the nation will face a lot of persecution and hostility doesn't mean it's the end of times. There's this Christian, especially among Protestant circles, but I'm sure among any Christian circles, is like, oh my gosh, America is under fire. The Lord's coming. The second coming is happening. I was like, it might, but like, just because America is facing literal hell in different ways doesn't mean the second coming is happening. It could happen, but people are quick. American Christians are so quick to say, no, this can't happen to our country. So we gotta prepare for the end times. It's like, end times might happen, but they might not. So Bebop says it just reveals how dangerous it is now for Christians and the massive target on their backs. To be vigilant and protecting their lives and their families' lives, yeah. Samuel Proctor says, I don't doubt that part of the source of the shooter's mentality has to do with, let me read this correct. Yeah, 22 years old, dang. 22 years old. Wow. I don't doubt that part of the source of the shooter's mentality had to do with, what were you saying? Was the leftist talking point that the words are literally violence, some pushed for years. Now, I will say, let's talk about that. Now, some people say, I don't want to use strong language like the media has blood on their hands, but you know what? It's an unwitting thing. Like, not unwitting, indirect. Like, maybe you didn't commit the murder yourself, but like your rhetoric incited someone to commit the murder. So there is speech that needs to be lawfully accounted for. These people who have spoken really horrible rhetoric that is not based on truth, they need comeuppance. They need their comeuppance. They need to lose their jobs. They need to completely lose their careers. Like I prayed for the universities, I didn't pray specifically for the media, but some of the media just needs to go. Let's just listen to independent media. Or be truthful about what you're saying. Are you a news channel or are you a commentary channel? Are you speaking the news from a reporter's perspective, unbiased, or are you a hit piece writer? You got to be honest with that. And I do pray that people stop listening to the lies. I've prayed about that too. Because people have been so believing something that's not true. And they want to they want to take it in their own hands, and it's wrong. As to what they want something that you have because they just want it. They'll resort to any fallacy. This is Final Fantasy fan. They resort to any fallacy to attack you and make people stop paying attention to you so they can have what you got. Because they think they could get away with it free of consequences. Never mind, you can't escape the consequences. No one is above the law. No one should escape consequences. Yeah. Yep. Hello, Eldridge fan. What'd you miss? You missed a lot. If you're just coming. But you can always look at the replay. Emil says, as an outsider Canadian, I'd not make that conclusion before I absolutely figure out what his ideas are at first. I'm hearing different things from different people. I don't know what you mean by ideas. And I will be forthright with that. Charlie Kirk's ideas should not result in death. If he's not inflicting violence, he's not deserving of death. It's as simple as that. He's not inciting violence. He was not inciting violence. It was just ideas. Ideas should not be prosecuted if they're not inflicting unjust things in our society. The battle for ideas. This is what our nation was founded on. Maybe Canada is different. I don't know. But I have to be forthright about that. I'm not mad at you, Amiel, but it's like but the assassination was wrong. It was wrong. So you say let's see who else. Samuel Proctor says the left wasted no time trying to frame this shooter as right wing and MAGA, pasting MAGA on the shirt all through. Wow, geez, see another reason why I hate AI. Well, the thing is, if the shooter were right wing or whatever, it's still wrong. If the victim was a Democrat congressman, you know, I think that was recent news too. That's also wrong. It doesn't matter who it was. The assassination was. It ought not to be. I mean that's my take on it. It ought not to be. But the fact that it was based on it was a civilian who lost his life. That's the scary part. Bebop says, I'll tell you one thing, this has definitely radicalized many right-wing Christian Zoomers to become even more right-wing than ever, but also many others more fearful of this society. I mean, I wouldn't pursue right or left-wing. I would pursue justice. I would pursue justice. I would pursue what is right. I'm not wanting one side or the other to be galvanized by this. I want justice. And I want it to be where people who are insane are disincentivized from taking someone's life, especially in a public arena. That's my opinion. And we shouldn't resort to violence And like people, and there are pundits out there who are saying, "Oh, they're using his death to further their agenda." It's like you did the same with someone like George Floyd. Why are you criticizing a group you don't agree with the same methods you did with other public murders or murders? I don't know. It's like it's all messed up. It's all messed up. But unlike Floyd, this was a political assassination, and it needs to be dealt differently. So that's what I have to say. Thank you, Ghost Planet. Goes out to Mr. Kirk's entire family, friends, and loved ones, and his widows and his kids too. Yeah. The wife is she's got strength and hope in this ordeal. Liasu is saying the left is so similar to those of CCP China. Victim blaming means lack of morality, celebrating when someone innocent dies and not helping. I mean, I'm not saying we're wearing red per se, but we got to be careful, especially with our young ones. I teach students and adult and young, but it seems like, and I love my students. I teach these two 14, 15-year-old girls different things, and they assume I'm left wing because I'm female. They assume I love feminist stories because I'm female. They assume like, oh my gosh, this story here, and this deconstruction here, and I'm like, hey, this has been done before you were born, and I try to refute them. I say, hey, this is not new. This is actually really old stuff. This is to be expected among modern writers now, and they like me still, but they're surprised by my strong opinions and I try not to I'm a music teacher, so really my strong opinion should just have to do with music. But when they are like, hey, yeah, can you get on board with this? I'm like, no, I'm not going to show you any excitement. You think I like this because I'm female, but we're not having the same political leanings. I'm sorry, maybe your other female teachers are teaching you this, but this female teacher, she's more conservative than you think, and she's more pro-American than you think. Sorry. All right. Being a 3-hour stream. I'm gonna continue on down just a little bit because I do want to move on to happier stuff, because I think we ought to do. Sorry, I'm massaging my neck because I'm kind of tense. Not because I'm anxious. Just, did you hear that? Did you hear that? A-Smoke talking about 2 Timothy with verses 5. I mean, we're closer to the end times, but when people definitively say, this is it, I'm like, you don't know. Could be. That's my predicament. Samuel Proctor says there's a bit of comeuppance going on. The Red Hood writer. Yeah, who celebrated his death. I did hear about that. Got canceled. Stephen King's books are being taken from Bart. I did not know about that. Wow. Yeah, speech should come with consequences. I'm not saying free speech free of consequence. Like, no, like you're like, can you imagine being in a school, like a speaker of a school assembly of like 5th graders, and you start talking about like the indecency of human exposure and say, hey, I like licking my, you know what, but say the actual word in front of 5th graders? Well, that should have consequences. Oh, freedom of speech. It's like, well, freedom of speech, yes, but you're gonna probably get some jail time by including that in front of an assembly of 5th graders. It's like, freedom of speech is not speech without consequences. But people say, well, then the death of Kirk was a consequence that he entails. Like, that's not what I'm talking about at all. So. As a non-denominational Christian, says Lance the Film Guy, I do believe in the rapture. I don't agree with making predictions on when it happens because Jesus said no man knows the day or the hour. True that. I don't believe in the rapture. Even as a Protestant, like, I'm not a Protestant anymore. I'm really on the fence, leaning a little bit more toward Catholicism. But it comes with being married to a wonderful Catholic man. But I'm still learning. I'm still growing as I investigate. But even as a Protestant, I never believed in the rapture. Just didn't think it was a thing. Like and I think actually historically, I think the rapture came from the out of the 1800s. So, but the most important thing is, if you're a Christian, you have your salvation in Christ Jesus, and that's we can have our differences, but that's the one thing we should all agree on as Christians. Yeah. Let's see. Eldritch Fan says, you ever come across a story or a piece of art that's 100% opposed to your worldview, but undeniably a brilliant story? The stuff against your beliefs is true to the character rises organically from the story. Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov was an atheist, and he wrote really compelling short stories that could be a piece of commentary of some philosophy I don't agree with. I am never going to discount how some of his short stories are great, and I'll always read them. And I think he was a professed atheist. I think he was an environmentalist. You know, I think he might have, if he lived to this day, he might be in the Green Party or whatever. I don't know, but like that's not gonna keep me from reading his works. But this is a little different from artists who are saying repugnant things and expecting to still make a business with their works. And everyone has their own choice. Like, you know, I think with Stephen King, for instance, like, oh my gosh, are you gonna stop reading his books now? I'm like, well, first of all, you're gonna like if you vehemently disagree with what he's done with his comments regarding the assassination, don't buy any of more of his books. That's his comeuppance. Yeah, his free speech is free speech, but there are consequences. And I'm always for free speech, but there's good speech, bad speech. It's going to come with reward, or it's going to come with consequences. And people are having a hard time shutting up. Oh, you sly prof, Samuel Proctor says, turning her cat into a Catholic. Yeah, I agree with you, Amiel. I do agree with you, but the thing is, it's like the assassination is wrong. That's all. No matter who shot him, who committed the crime, who's galvanized by their death or the Kirk's death, it's all wrong. It's just all wrong. Anyway, speaking of the Catholic faith, what are some assumptions that others make about that faith? Oh man, that's a whole can of worms that I'm not ready to talk about here. But Professor Geek is Catholic. He's got a Catholic Geek Bible channel, and sometimes he talks about his Catholicism on his Professor Geek channel. Um, I'm just I'm just scratching the surface. So I can't make claims. I can't make arguments for or against. I'm just investigating. That's all. Excuse me, I gotta cough for a second. Okay. So let's see. What should we talk about? Let's talk about some happy stuff. So I like reading or I like doing video games. And Samuel Proctor, was it you or someone else who asked me months ago if I played Zelda Ocarina of Time, loved it, and then someone asked me, "Have you tried Majora's Mask?" Well, I tried Majora's Mask, and I have a lot of stuff to say about that game. Um, do you? Oh, Professor Geek, he's gonna put the Catholic input because he knows so much better than I. So anyway, I'll take a really quick restroom break, and we're gonna get into some fun stuff like Majora's Mask because you might think I don't care about Nintendo, I don't care about Majora's Mask, but like maybe just the concept and the gameplay experience will enlighten you with what you want to consider for stories or art yourself. So you did not ask the Zelda question. I haven't played a single Zelda game myself. Maybe it was Private Eye. One of you guys asked about Majora's Mask, and I played it, and I have thoughts. So let me take a real quick restroom break, and I will be right back. If you guys are if you guys are asking questions about the religion, just go ahead and ask legitimate questions. God doesn't allow evil to be done in his name. Uh he there's a lot of theology, but I want to talk about Majora's Mask, which is different. So yeah, keep your questions reasonable. Like, yeah, we don't Christians don't believe that God allows evil to be done in his name. I think you're confusing that with the antithesis of that. Um, so anyway, Majora's Mask. Okay, so Zelda. So I haven't really played a lot of Zelda games. I've only played two. That is with the Nintendo 64 version of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Now, I have let's just say I probably will do a retro review video. I think that's really important to talk about. No, actually, I didn't realize this. I was way into the game before I realized that it's the 25th anniversary of Majora's Mask. Now, Ocarina of Time, I really liked. I liked the story. I liked a lot of the gameplay, and I had fun with that. And I think it's a classic for a reason, and it's a repeatable game experience. You know, you want to make your art a repeatable experience, and Zelda's Ocarina of Time is a repeatable experience, especially when you get better and better with those games. You know, that said, the the Majora's Mask experience is a very, very different experience. It is considered a sequel to the Ocarina of Time Zelda game, and it is a sequel. Like the story follows up. You know, the Link as a character, he goes back to in time after he's defeated Ganondorf. He goes back his 7 years to regain his childhood, to regain his youth, his young youth, and then he decides to find the premise of the game for Majora's Mask is he decides to find Navi, who kind of just went away, and sadly she never comes back. He's just there for that game, Ocarina of Time. And so he, on Epona, I think is the name of the horse, he goes to venture into the woods, not the Lost Woods, but just different woods to try to find his fairy friend. Now, on the one hand, Ocarina of Time, I think, kind of resonates with all of us as the Zelda classic. I mean, for Nintendo 64, it actually holds up. The Zelda Nintendo 64 games are not bad at all. Mario, I like Mario. It's kind of clunky. It's kind of endearing in that way. As far as gameplay, it's just it's not the best it could be. It's kind of creepy too. It's kind of a creepy game. Even though I like it a lot. Donkey Kong 64 is a fine, it's an okay game experience. I like it. I do like it because I kind of grew up with it, or had my first years in college with it. But there was too many mini games. There's just too many bonus games. I'm so frustrated. I just want to keep going. Nintendo nailed it with Zelda. Zelda with Ocarina of Time, a good story. The non-playable characters seem like real people. You're kind of like talking with them, conversing with them, and then when you're pulled into the future and like Ganondorf has taken over the world and everything's just derelict and full of zombies and stuff, it's scary. And then you go back in time and then you see these villagers, and they, like, some villagers you talk to have this like premonition like something's gonna happen, and they're like, oh wow. So you're the hero of time, of course, is Link. And Ganondorf, I respect Bowser. Like, Bowser's always that great Nintendo villain, but I think as far as villains are concerned, Ganondorf, and ultimately Ganon, I think is the best Nintendo villain. Like, his baritone laugh, like he's completely evil, but he's kind of ostentatious and he has a little flair. I think he is my favorite Nintendo villain. I think he's great. Story-wise, I think he's the right kind of villain. And for the story, I really do like Zelda Ocarina of Time. I will go back to it. I will keep playing it, and it'll be a lot more fun since I know what to do now. Majora's Mask is a whole other animal. It's very different from the heroic trajectory of Ocarina of Time. Now, first of all, it was released 4 years after the first game, OOT. And while the NPCs are there, like it's the same character mods from the previous game, graphics in the year 2000 were much better. So I went through the whole first part of the story, and then the Skull Kid is the main antagonist. He's a secondary antagonist. It's Majora, the demon, the diabolical spirit. That's the main antagonist of Majora's Mask. Skull Kid waylays Link off of his horse, and then he steals the horse, and then Link is chasing him, and then then the gameplay starts, and I gotta pursue the Skull Kid to get my horse back. And the first thing I noticed were the graphics were really nice, like the fighting animation swings, and then the graphics of the shrubs and the bushes and the trees. I was like, whoa, there was huge improvement. I'm not even talking about the DS remake. I'm talking about the 64 version. I'm like, this is great. Like, I love Ocarina of Time, but like if I go back to Ocarina of Time, it's wonderful. It's endearing, but the graphics are not as great. Like, Nintendo really put a lot of effort, I could see back then, and before the North America release in 2000 of Majora's Mask. And that made the gameplay like, I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna like this. Now, the story is a very different story. I think I'll get into the story just a little bit, but Lance the Film Guy says N64 is the best game console. I won't agree with you when it comes to Mario and Donkey Kong. Super Nintendo is the best Nintendo. But I do really like the Zelda games of Nintendo 64. I really appreciate them. So, Majora's Mask. We'll get into the story in just a second, but as far as the gameplay, it's a very different story, and that could make you experience the gameplay a little bit differently. A lot of people loved Majora's Mask when it came out, and they still do. A lot of people didn't, because the story, the feel is very, very different. I will say, though, as much as I like Ocarina of Time, there are some dungeons that I don't like, that I have a disdain for. And it's pop culture knowledge now, like or game culture knowledge now. Like if you go to, there's, when Lincoln is an adult in the water temple, yeah, it's got kind of like nice music and it's cool, but like it is the most confusing dungeon. I liked Fire Temple better, and Forest Temple, and Spirit Temple was great. But Water Temple was just agonizingly confusing. And it was just, you had to switch like from the normal boots to the iron boots, and you just always had to switch with menus and stuff. And you didn't know really where things were. And then there's like also a disgusting dungeon called Jabu Jabu's Belly, where you're in the belly of a giant fish. And it's like, this is kind of gross, even though it's kind of interesting. There are some dungeons I just wouldn't prefer to play in Ocarina of Time. But I think I could have a better playing experience if I get better and better and better at that game, like if I knew what to do. Majora's Mask, on the other hand, even though it's true, the first time I played it, I had to go through the walkthrough and it was kind of confusing. Every single dungeon of that game is great and hyper creative. Like the dungeons, I don't think there's a dungeon I don't like in Majora's Mask. I think I like them all. Yeah, I have favorites, and I have least favorites, but like, there's no, I hate this dungeon for the game. Like, so if you want to play Zelda and you're not sure if you like, oh, I don't know about this dungeon here. Like, I had a blast. I really liked being in the world of Majora's Mask. The graphics are better, but also the creativity behind the dungeons. Like, there's the very last dungeon that you play temples to release the spirits of these giants to aid you to stop the moon from crashing into the earth. But you by releasing the spirits of these giants, you go to these temples and you beat out the curse, whoever the boss is. And the last temple, called the Stone Temple, is super interesting because you have the temple, and then you're only halfway done with the temple before you have to actually change it upside down, and the temple looks completely different. And there's like a sky room where the sky is the floor, and the earth is the ceiling or whatever. It's super interesting. It's wonderful. It's a very creative game. I liked being in it. It's a repeatable experience, and I highly recommend it. So if you have a Switch or an old Nintendo console and you've never played Majora's Mask, it's a very different feel in terms of story than Ocarina of Time. And some people don't even like it for that reason, but I liked the difference. So let's actually talk about the story, because I'm going to say I don't know anything about Nintendo's history, but I think the Japanese developers and the North American and European developers involved, I think they took some creative risk with Majora's Mask, because tonally it is very different from the other Zelda games. I've only played Ocarina of Time, but I understand that it's different from that hero's journey adventure with the previous games of, Game Boy Advance and Super Nintendo and I think regular Nintendo. One sec. Um, so on the story, so Majora's Mask, tonally, it's much different. It is a very dark game in a multifaceted way. And I can understand people not appreciating it, because basically the premise, and maybe you guys already know the premise, but Majora's Mask is based on the story is based on a mask that has been cursed with ancient evil, because the ancient evil has been put into the mask. And this happy mask salesman, he had that mask in his possession, but the Skull Kid, who he is the antagonist of the game in this game, but he's also just a mischievous person. Like he pulls pranks. Like he's an imp who pulls pranks. It's kind of a trope, So he's like, "Ooh, I like this mask," and then he kind of takes it. But then Majora's Mask, Majora the demon, or the diabolical entity inside the mask, possesses him, and then not only does he cause mischief, he causes kind of sour, downright malicious pranks, and things befall on people that are very evil. So it's the Skull Kid who has this power, but it's not really him. He doesn't really have his own agency anymore. It's the mask itself that is taking over the Skull Kid. And I, frankly, as far as the design of the villain, like the Skull Kid being possessed by the mask, I love that design. The mask is a really good design. It's a very colorful game. It's much more colorful than the previous game, and I like it for it. But anyway, the Skull Kid, who has an appearance in the previous game, he causes a lot of not just mischief but mayhem, because he's possessed by this mask. But the biggest problem that he has caused is out of vengeance for Termina, the world of Termina, which sounds like terminal, right? Like, oh my gosh, I don't have a lot of time, right? You know, he basically he was friends with these four giants, these benevolent giants that protect the world, and for whatever reasons the giants had to split apart, break apart to the different cardinal points of the earth, north, south, west, and east, to protect the world, and the Skull Kid is sad about this. He feels abandoned. They were his friends, and he's feeling sad. Then he befriends these two fairies. One of the fairies acts as Link's navigator, who is not Navi. Her name is Tattle, and she's kind of annoying, but she's kind of endearing at the same time. I liked her as a character. But anyway, Skull Kid, by the possession of the masks, brings down the moon upon the city of Termina, or the Clock Town, the city in Termina, to pretty much destroy the world. But that's not. Skull Kid is just sad, but his sadness becomes vengeance, and he wants to bring the moon upon the city, because he didn't have any friends. So it's a lonely kid who's possessed, and so there's a little bit of a dour tone, and this is why. Throughout the gameplay, throughout the whole story, your whole trajectory as Link, as the hero, you're going through this 3-day cycle. And in every 3-day cycle, well, first of all, why is there a 3-day cycle? Well, when you arrive on Termina, this is an alternate reality, or it's an alternate universe in the world of Zelda. It's not, besides one other game, I don't think it's really mentioned. It's just another world. It's not Hyrule, or any of his world. This is I would say, a different dimension of sorts. One encyclopedia of the lore suggests that it's all in the Skull Kid's imagination. I don't think that's official canon. It might be. I'm not really too crazy about that, to be honest. I do like it to be another world. But anyway, there's a 3-day cycle because when you arrive on Termina through this mysterious portal, you arrive 3 days before the moon is going to be crashing down. Now, fortunately for you, as Link, you do have the Ocarina of Time, so you can go back in time. So when you finish a mission, when you rid a temple of a cursed being, for instance, and you obtain a mask, you can go back in time and start your next mission. Now, there's a little bit of darkness with this premise for a couple of reasons. The first reason is you actually, as a game player, you might find yourself feeling rather unproductive with this 3-day cycle where you go up to the final day and then the moon's about to crash and then you have to, start over. Or you can go even earlier. You could be in the night of the second day and be done with your mission and then go back to the first day. And then you help people along the way in Clocktown if you want to do those side quests. You actually kind of have to get these masks. You obtain 20 masks total. But why this 3-day cycle is such a dour premise is because when let's say you save a Deku princess, for instance, from an evil monster, and you save her friend monkey who's about to be executed by this wrathful, vengeful father who thinks he abducted the princess. You get that all out of the way. You get rid of the curse of the Woodfall Temple. It's more of an analog to the Forest Temple of the previous game. And you save the Deku princess, you save the monkey, all the waters are no longer poisonous because the curse is gone. Yay, it's all good. But as with time travel, when you go back in time to do your next mission, sure, you've obtained a mask, an accursed mask, and that's good. You've obtained a few items, a few masks along the way. But when you go back in time, obviously they're in the same dour situation. So you may have saved the Deku princess. You may have released the curse upon the temple. You may have refreshed the waters and they're no longer poisonous. And yay, you can swim in these waters again. But then when you go back in time, the setting is the same as if you hadn't saved the princess. It's not just the setting. The princess still needs help, but you need to go on your next mission. So I can see where that psychologically messes with the player. You kind of have to know that, like, well, I'm just doing mission after mission after mission to get to the moon to get rid of all of this problem, So there's a little bit of dourness. There's a little bit of just a morbid sense to the game because of that. You almost as a player don't feel productive because you're going back in time. You've acquired some items that will help, but a person you've helped already, like at midnight on the first night, well, she needs help again on midnight on the first night if you go back in time. So you've done wonderful things that you've recorded in your little notebook, but it still doesn't change things in time because when you go back in time, things are going to play out the same way. So there's a little bit of darkness behind that. Like that can actually really mess with players. And I've seen players comment they don't like the game for that reason, and I can understand that. There's this one daughter, this little girl who wants to help her zombified father because he's placed on this curse. And so every time I go to that canyon, I want to help the dad so he's normal to help the little girl. I don't have to, but I always want to because their house is like surrounded by like these mummified zombies. And then and then he's zombified. He needs the curse lifted off of him, and I'm like, I don't have to do this, but I want to just to make it okay for that little girl, you know. So I even do extra stuff, just even if I don't have to. Yeah. So that's the first thing. There's a lot of other things. There's a lot of things that I didn't allow to happen, or I didn't see happen because I go back in time. One is a rancher girl who no one believes her. She's based on Malin, the previous rancher girl of the previous game, but she has a child form in this and the adult form. They're two sisters, a younger sister and an older sister. Their parents, for whatever reason, passed away. The older sister is trying to mind the ranch. She's constantly harassed by these two brothers trying to steal the cow's milk, so she can't make business with her ranch. You know, her ranch is, you know, going under because these people keep stealing her milk, or want to steal her milk. So Link has to, like, yeah, shoot arrows at them and stuff. And I feel vindicated. I feel like I can do that to these men riding on horses, crying and trying to steal the milk, or at least ruin the milk. So there's an older sister, there's a younger sister. Now the younger sister, she has this belief that we find to be true. It's kind of weird. She has this belief that at the Carnival of Time, the setting of the games, yeah, the time and setting where the game takes place, Carnival of Time. Well, every year during the Carnival of Time, like around like between 2 and 6 in the morning, there's these alien ghostly creatures that come to abduct the cows. Now, fortunately, when I'm with her, I save the day. The aliens are not going to abduct the cows, but I haven't failed, and I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail. If I fail that mission, the aliens not only abduct the cows, but they abduct the little girl. And then she comes back completely lobotomized. And she doesn't remember anything. Her memory's completely wiped. She feels sad. And then you'll see, actually, if I looked at this on YouTube because it didn't happen in my game because I didn't allow it to happen. But you could see her doing this. Like she's in agony. I'm like, dang, that's dark. She's poor lobotomized little girl. And then the older sister, who didn't believe her about the aliens, doesn't know what's made her succumb to this condition. The cows are gone. Her business is going down. And this can happen if you're not helping the little girl in the situation with the aliens. Now, you feel good when you take care of the aliens, but you kind of have it in the back of your mind, well, if you're not doing this because you're at another temple trying to lift the curse off the temple, you sort of have this, like, idea as a player, like, well, shoot, while I'm doing this, this is what's happening to this little girl and to this older sister. So, it's a little dark. It can really mess with you. And then, there's a bit of dialogue that I did not catch in my game because I just wasn't at the place at the time. Now we always go back in time, right? As Link, as the fairy, as Epona and all that. But when you go to the very last day to this ranch with the older sister and her younger sister, I saw this dialogue. I looked at this on YouTube and I was like, whoa, like these Japanese developers, like they were not afraid of going really dark with the kids game. But the moon is about to crash, it's got about 4 hours or whatever before it's going to hit Termina, before you save the day, of course. But if you go to the ranch again with this older sister and the younger sister, there's this dialogue they have while the older sister is milking the cow. Now, they milk a very special milk, which is implied that there's a little something. There's maybe a little alcohol. There's milk that they can sell that gives the person a little buzz. Okay, now it's called Romani milk because it's based on Romani Ranch, or the little girl Romani. That's her name. Romani and Cremia. Cremia is the older sister. Now Cremia is milking the cow, and if you're Link and you go at the very, almost at the very end to the ranch, you happen upon them being with the cows, milking the cows, and the sister, the little sister, she's a little girl. She's like, I can't believe you're allowing me to have this milk, this Romani milk. I'm still a kid. Like only adults. Why now, sister? Why now? Why are you giving me this milk to drink? And I'm laughing sardonically. I mean, it's really dark, but that's okay. I saved the day. I'm done. It's after the fact. But Cremia, the older sister, is fine with giving her younger sister, her little sister, a kid, an alcoholic beverage to seduce her to sleep so she won't wake up in the trauma of the moon crashing down on them. So she wants to basically, uh, what's it called? Intoxicate the little girl so she's basically drugged effectively so she can't get out of her stupor so she won't witness the terror of the moon crashing down on them at night. And to make it really sweet, like the sister is trying to put on a brave face. The older sister, she's trying to put on a brave face. She says, well, I acknowledge you as an adult now, because she understands she's not going to see her little sister as an adult ever, because she thinks the moon's going to come onto them. And the little sister's just like, "Hi, oh, see you tomorrow, Link," and all that. And then the older sister, Cremia, says, now, Romani, I want you to sleep with me tonight in my bed. And so you're kind of imagining an older sister trying to put on a brave face, holding her younger sister before the moon comes crashing down. And I'm like, whoa! That's dialogue I did not see when I was playing the game. That was dialogue I saw on YouTube. I was like, this is a kid's game? And you don't really feel the weight of it because like these NPCs are kind of like pixelated. They're very blocky, but it's like, man, that's dark. That's sad. That's sad. And I love that the older sister's trying to put on a brave face, knowing that the moon is going to come crashing down, but she's not going to slip into despair, not because for the sake of her sister. She wants to be brave for her sister. Wow. I was like, well, don't worry, Cremia. I'm Link, and I have an ocarina of time, and I can time travel. And I'm going to stop this moon from crashing down. So, there's that. But at the same time, even though it's dark, it's different. The game is experimental. I love being in that world. I had a great experience with this game, and I'll play it again. Because now that I know how to do it, it's really fun. Before I get into the final thing about Majora's Mask, here's the thing. I was playing it and I was really confused. It took me a long time to get through it the first time around. But the data, we were trying to fix something with the Switch and the data cleared. It completely cleared. I was on like the second to the last dungeon before the data completely cleared. I'm like, oh, I guess I have to start over. And I wasn't really sad because I knew now what to do. And the game was much faster a second time around, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being there. So Majora's Mask is great. Now, the final boss is really funny. Okay, so I think Ganondorf and Ganon, his beast-like form, is legitimately, I think, the best Nintendo villain out there. But as far as concept, I don't think he has anything on Majora as a diabolical character. Now, I gotta come clean with one very specific thing. One sec. Oh, crud. I have to cough again. One sec. Okay. So, so Ganondorf he was a very hard villain. Ganon was hard at first, but so fun. Man, I love the last battle with Ganon. I love the music, and I love the setting. Ocarina of Time, final boss is great. Majora's Mask. I will say, as a boss, especially playing it a second time, because I did it twice. I did it the first time not realizing, okay, here's what happens. You finish all the temples, you finish all the, you release the giants to come to Clock Town to stop the moon from crashing down onto Clock Town. But what happens is, well, the Skull Kid hears the giant's voices, hears his old friends, and they're vindicating him. They're like, they're very serious, but they're coming to the aid of Clocktown. He screams, he goes mad, and then he faints. And then the mask discards him. He's like, I don't need this host anymore, this body anymore. I have my own power again to use. And the mask slips into the moon. Then you go to the moon, and then you try to. It's Majora's Mask. When you think you go to the moon, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be in this like rock environment, like it's gonna be this, rocky, barren wasteland and stuff like that. No, actually, as soon as you have Link go up to the moon, it's this very idyllic setting or idyllic setting. It's a beautiful tree at the center of this beautiful green hill you're on, and there's just blue sky and sun all around. And these five people, four little kids. It's the same kid but with different masks. He's saying, "Hey, will you play with me?" And then you accept the challenge, and then then if you give all these little kids all the masks you acquired at the end of the game, then Majora, or the kid holding the Majora's mask, says, here's your mask to fight me. And it's called the Fierce Deity's mask. And it's the one. See, Link is a child the whole time in the game, and I do miss being adult Link, but I still loved Majora's Mask as a game all around. The Fierce Deity's mask lets you be adult Link, which is great. But here's the thing: the first time I battled Majora, I forgot to put the mask on, and dang, it was a little hard. It was a little hard. The second time, I was like, wait, I forgot to do the mask. And I put on the mask, not for the first stage when you're just battling the Majora's mask, but the reincarnation of the diabolical fiend that is Majora. Then I slipped into adult Link. That didn't come out right. The mask, I slipped on the mask, became adult Link. It was easy. It was so easy. It was like 10 seconds with one incarnation and 15 seconds with another. I just spam attacked this entity, and it was done. I was like, oh my. The developers did not need to put this mask into the game, because Majora, unfortunately, with the mask was way, way too easy. But without the mask, if you stay child Link, it's pretty challenging. And I dare say it is sadistic. It is diabolical, and I'm so happy to talk about why. So 1 second. So Majora's Mask, or Majora himself, he comes in 3 forms. Just the mask, because his spirit is embodied in the mask, and then once you defeat the mask, he kind of like warps into like from the mask extends legs and limbs and stuff. And then the final reincarnation is the Wrath of Majora. So the mask actually is, with the Fierce Deity mask and being adult Link, the mask, the first stage, was the hardest. Then the second 2 stages were very, very easy. But if you are child Link, prepare for a sadistic battle. It's diabolical and very, very sadistic. It's very interesting. It's so uncharacteristic. I mean, Ganondorf has a very, very foreboding feel, and Ganon with the demon pig with flaming eyes, and he's got you with 2 swords and stuff like that. And that's awesome fantasy. Majora's Mask, man. It is so different. Majora is a very different character. He's a very, or it, I think he's a he. He's a very different villain, because he's a spiritual entity in possession of a mask. So when you defeat the mask itself, he warps into this like long-limbed creature. And by the way, the Majora's Mask theme, the music theme, is great. I'll probably do a video on it one of these days, like way into the future. But it's it's so uncharacteristic of anything fantasy, anything Zelda, because he's this kind of tribal like demon who's doing these really spasmodic dances, and he's even doing like that famous Russian where you kick up your feet while you're crossing your arms, and he's going about the room, and then he does real frenetic movement to kick you around, and if you're not at the right place at the right time, you can get a few blows, especially as Child Link. And and uh and you got to time it just right, but the music is not battle music. It's just this kind of, it's almost like gamelan music. If you've ever heard of gamelan music, in East Asia, it's got kind of that kind of percussion, that tonality, that non-pitched thing that sounds kind of tribal and sounds primitive. Might be considered problematic in these days. But I don't care. It's really trippy. It's not something you would expect in a Zelda game. And then you gotta time it right just to like hack at his legs and make him stop dancing so you can defeat him. And then you got the final reincarnation. And it is super trippy and super sadistic, and here's why. You defeated the long limbs of the reincarnation, the first reincarnation, but the second is the wrath of Majora. And I have never, like, this was so genius of the Japanese developers or anyone who decided on this creatively. But Majora, I think, is a male entity, a spiritual entity. And so the limbs, the shaky, like skinny limbs of the first reincarnation starts building in muscle. And then the Majora, his final reincarnation, is this like muscular tribal guy, and I'm like, oh, this looks serious. And he's got like a skull face of sorts. I'm like, oh, okay, this is intimidating. But I should have expected it to be more intimidating, because out of this like masculine tribal dude who's like painted like tattoos and stuff like that, he's got these long tentacles coming out of his hands like whips. I'm like, well, this is weird. This is kind of strange. And if you decide to be Kid Link for the challenge, it's really sadistic, because basically these long cords that defy all physics, because if cords are so long, they wouldn't whip you from long distances. But if you're really far away from the room, he's gonna whip you, and he's gonna smite you with all these whips. And to make matters worse, it's not like Ganon where he's like this deep growl voice of a beast. This masculine entity, this evil deity that is supposed to be this masculine build, screams like both a woman and a child while he whips you. It's completely sadistic. It's like I have to be in the zone to like beat him, because it's like, this is really trippy. And that was Majora's Mask for me. I'm like, so if you play the game, don't get the Fierce Deities mask, because Majora's way too easy when you have that mask on. But when you are Child Link, you're being whipped like an animal, trying to cover some ground to get to his legs and to hack him to pieces. And all the while, when he rebounds, he's this masculine, physically masculine, but vocally child feminine hybrid. It's while he's whipping you to death. And it's completely weird. It's so weird, but it's like, well, I guess I would expect that experience with a diabolical entity. So something to think about for your story writing. That's what I wanted to say. But all in all, I had a wonderful experience as a gamer to play Majora's Mask. I highly recommend it. I'll play it again. It's a repeatable experience. It's a game that I will play again, because it's great. It's great. We'll go through the chat a little bit, and then we'll talk about Solomon Kane. I knew this was gonna be 3 hours. One sec. All right. Yeah, Majora's Mask. Anti-Mario 64 Blasphemy. I love the game. It's just it's a clunky experience. I never could get Majora's Mask. I always ran out of time. I never found that I ran out of time. But when you play it a second time, you find yourself going faster. I loved the dungeons. I wouldn't know. Maybe Prof can attest to that. The difference is like KOTOR and KOTOR 2. I don't know. The thing is, I feel like KOTOR 2 is tonally the same. It's different with different characters and it's a different story, but I mean, it's still tonally Star Wars. Like, Majora's Mask with Zelda is like, it's like Zelda doesn't appear at all. The princess doesn't appear. She only appears in a flashback from the beginning, and and then when you finish, you basically are doing what you did before. Try to find Navi or Navi. Yeah, Ghost Planet, you talk about creepy pasta. I'm actually not quite sure what you mean by that. I mean, there are a lot of creepy elements of it, but I never followed that viral idea when that was around. Um, let's see. You say like Ghost Planet says the moon looks is creepy. It looks like a from a trip to the moon. I don't know. But yeah, the grimacing face, the grimacing moon's face is what makes it really unsettling. It's a very unsettling game, but it's also kind of fun. Um, Lance the Film Guy says there's a book called Legend of Zelda Anthology. It explores the Christian themes of the game, really? I remember hearing that Link was praying in church in the earlier versions of the game. And there's a lot of canon out there that's outside the game, like comics and manga and stuff. I don't know if it was exclusively Japanese that would be a Christian tone, but I guess you can find some analog there, some comparisons. Um, uh, Before crossing a church? Wow, jeez, I didn't I didn't think that. I wouldn't be so literal with Christian symbolism in a place like Zelda, though, and I think that's fine. What? See, that makes me feel weird, Bebop. You say to Lance the Film Guy, yeah, the art shows him praying to Christ on the crucifix in a church with divine light shining upon him from a window above the crucifix. That's like I don't think that's Link's story. Like I don't. But again, who am I to say? I've only played two Zelda games, so I probably won't be the best person to talk about that. Well, the Triforce itself is, yeah, I don't think it's a clear reference to the Holy Trinity because it's first of all it's based on three goddesses, and second of all it's there's power, wisdom, and courage, and power is always the one that's corrupted. So like I don't see the analog at all. Whipping. So he's a Belmont? No, it was a different kind of whip. It was a different kind of whipping. Let's talk. I think Castlevania would make more sense with Christian elements for sure. Like the idea of vampires will have a lot of Christian symbolism. I don't see it in Zelda's world, but who am I to say? I'm not an expert on that. So, the last thing I wanted to say because it is over 3 hours. I thought it would be. Thanks, Prof. Thanks. It's almost 9. I knew I'd be going. I knew I'd be going. Um, and by the way, I hope to cover a lot more about. It'd be nice to do a separate video on Majora's Mask as a retro review. I'd actually one day would like to talk about someone like Solomon Kane as a character. So before I lose my voice, let's talk about Christian symbolism. Let's talk about Christian symbolism with Solomon Kane, a character like Solomon Kane. So all in all, I haven't read all the tales. I'm going through all the tales, well, most of the tales, not the comics, just the written tales by Robert E. Howard. These tales of Solomon Kane. I decided to go through them, the Savage Tales of Solomon Kane, because it's close to Halloween. I needed something a little bit spooky. I needed something a little supernatural. And I thought, hey, I should go through these tales. And Solomon Kane, as far as his supernatural adventures, is horror. Yes, it's scary. Some of the stuff is really terrifying and vivid. But it's horror I could do. I can't do Prof knows this. I can't do horror. I really can't. But with something like Solomon Kane, with like who he is as a character, what he represents, what he does to help villagers, for instance, I'm like, okay, this is frightening stuff, but I can take it. I can take it. So if I find myself losing a little bit of steam, I'll try to say what I want and then wrap it up. But Solomon Kane, with with the likes of Van Helsing, uh, is becoming a favorite fictional hero of mine, and there are reasons for that. He has a really interesting appeal in the Pulp Fiction, but I really think he could be an inspiration. This character, Solomon Kane, could be an inspiration for anyone serious about writing very memorable characters. Solomon Kane is a very interesting character. I'm very glad that Robert E. Howard approached him the way he did, because what he is a, you know, 16th and 17th century, I think, if I got that century right. He's basically this kind of archetypal, like super powerful warrior with a moral code that is his supposed Puritan religion. I love how unabashed he is with his villains, with his nemesis, whoever that person is, or whatever group of people this character has going against him, because he's always about justice. Like, he defends the weak. He defends not only does Solomon Kane defend the weak, he avenges the weak if the weak should succumb to death because of someone else's crime, someone else's vice. And he will avenge that person's death, like, no qualms. He will pursue you to the ends of the earth, to pretty much finish you off if you dare had laid a hand on a maiden, an innocent maiden, or an innocent youth, or just anyone who can't defend themselves. He has this amazing resolve that doesn't have to be in every character, but I'm glad he has it. There's just so much I want to say about this character. There's the appeal of this pulp character, I think, stems, at least for me, with this unhindered resolve to bring justice to the world. His villains, his main villains, like I'm not talking about like a bandit of people or some pirates. I'm talking about like the leader of the bandit, or the band, leader of bandits or leader of pirates. It's the leader who Howard writes. You've got Solomon Kane. Yeah, he's not perfect. He's got some flaws himself. He's got some pride. He's got some hubris and stuff like that. But he's wanting to bring about justice, and the people he goes up against are people who've committed violent crimes, who've pillaged villages, who really do awful things to weaker people who can't defend themselves. And they're full of vice. They're full of hubris, and they're full of vice. They have this two-dimensional cockiness to them that I love, that I think is perfect for someone like Solomon Kane. You've got these villains who are just about pride and vice. Interestingly enough, when they understand they're being pursued, like when the leader, whoever it is, or the pirates or the bandits, whoever they are, when they understand that Solomon Kane is pursuing them, the people working for the leader, they're like, we got to get out of here. This is Solomon Kane. We should, okay, I guess I'll be on the lookout, but like he hunts our whole band is killed because he's taking these people out one at a time. Like, this protagonist is ruthless, and even wicked men who work for even more wicked men, they see it as like, we gotta go. And not only that, it's not like about like people say, leader here, evil leader, dude, we gotta run, we gotta escape. It's not even just about saying that. These wicked men who are weaker men than their leader, they chastise, they rebuke their leader for having the gall to be prideful with going up against a force like Solomon Kane. It's the wicked men that are telling the more wicked man those like Like, why do you have this pride? You don't know who this man is. There's just a lot of that, and so it's good. It's good versus evil, but the evil is the villain who has so much pride, who has so much vice, who's not afraid, who basically is not afraid of damnation, like because that's how evil they are. And you've got Solomon Kane, who is just like ice and steel of a man. He's got total resolve. He it's not to say he's overpowered. He's always at odds, but he has the resolve. He has a resolve to do justice with the faith, with enough faith, maybe because of his supposed Puritan background, but he has enough faith that providence will prevail because he believes justice will prevail. He believes he is a vessel of righteousness. He's a vessel of the divine. And he goes up against supernatural forces. He goes up against notorious pirates and notorious men who are within their own rank pretty much equal as far as being a fighter. So Solomon Kane is a natural born fighter, but his villains are also they can be natural born fighters too. So he's not on the one hand, he's probably not outmatched, or he could be outnumbered. And things happen to him like that would naturally happen to any fighter, like going off a chasm if like some giant warrior is barreling toward you on this rickety chasm, a rickety bridge overlooking a ravine or whatever, and you might topple over. So Solomon Kane is not without things happening to him. But the thing is, some people might think, oh, with this Pulp Fiction, Solomon Kane is too perfect. Like he's got things like Deus Ex Machina. Like he should not have gotten out of this situation. He should have died. And the thing is, the narrative does explain. Robert E. Howard is great with this. He explains through the narrative that Solomon Kane is understanding he's about to die. And he accepts death, but he will always and only accept death standing on his 2 feet. Like he doesn't want to cower in weakness. Like he's like, I know I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna die grimacing, and I'm gonna look at my foe in the eyes and die with standing on my feet. And when he gets out of a situation, it's not Deus Ex Machina. It's not God intervening. Well, I mean, okay, like he's a Puritan, so you could kind of see like, oh, there could be providence in his favor. But in a couple stories that I've read where he should have died, the only reason why he doesn't die is because the antagonist or the force of nature at work is succumbed by a greater force of nature, because of the first force of nature had dealt with things evilly, like it's cause and effect. Like there was this one giant tribesman in Africa who is really primitive, and he's about to just vanquish Kane. He's about to just blow him with his giant fists. But because previously this primitive man, who is more primitive than man, but he's still a man, because he ruthlessly slays a female gorilla, and he's about to kill Kane. Kane just finishes a battle with another guy, and he's bleeding out. Like he's like, I can't protect myself. I can't defend myself. I'm at death's door. The primitive guy is about to kill Kane just out of bloodlust, but he can't because he previously killed a female gorilla with all the like triumph, like I killed this beast, I killed this she beast. Well, an even bigger male gorilla is avenging her death. And the gorilla has nothing to do with Kane. He doesn't care about Kane. He cares about the primitive guy who killed his mate. And so Kane survives. So it's not Deus Ex Machina. It's like these evil people about to kill Kane they themselves are killed because of previous actions on their part. And so it's like this cause and effect. And it's like it's just wonderful. Part of the appeal too is like his villains are very good fighters. They're hot with fire, and there's this dichotomy of fire and ice. You can be a really skilled combatant and go up against Kane, and you can have all the flair and all the anger, all the pride and all the aggression, and you can almost smoke Kane. You can have him bleed. You can like knife him and cut him and make him work harder in his fight. But Kane is ice. Kane is ice and steel. And so because of his resolve, he doesn't have the hot temper of his villains. He has cold temper. He has endurance of stone. And that's what causes him to be able to give you that final blow. It's hyper testosterone, it's hyper masculine, and it's awesome. Like these tales of whether it's with the supernatural or the natural with like something like a band of pirates or whatever. It's so good. And I think I think a character like Kane needs to not only be remembered, I think he just needs to be frequently read. Some people might say, "Oh, some of these expeditions of his in Africa is so problematic." It's like, well, I mean, don't think that like a group of people can be without villainy. Everyone can be villains and stuff, and it's primal. It's bloody. It's primal, and that's usually not my cup of tea. But when you have a very archetypal character like Kane, who wants to bring about justice, to defend the weak, to defend the needy, and to avenge the weak if they succumb to death, it's like, cool. I'm for that. He's not like Batman in that Batman is aspirational and that he does not kill. Now Batman invokes fear in all the villains and all the thugs and stuff like that. But Kane also, because he's not a supernatural force, but he is this like relentless, undogged force of justice where the death knell will toll. Like he is people's death. And what I love too much, he's a little bit of an evangelist. He doesn't go out preaching and stuff like that, but when people are like struck with awe, like how do you do this? Who are you? Like that's usually the enigmatic question. Who are you? And he'll come with, I am Solomon Kane, a landless man, a wanderer, he just travels the world. He's always driven by the spirit to go where the spirit leads, for better or for worse. And people ask, who are you? And that's when he talks to people about providence. He believes he's fighting on the right side, and that's why he always comes out. When people think, no, we're never going to escape, we're never going to get out of this, it's like, I believe in providence. Providence has not led me to this point for years of traveling to get to this point to be defeated now. And that is a lot like Batman. There's a lot of Batman in that, even though Batman allows people to live. But Kane instokes the fear of people practicing evil. Like he is kind of like a spirit himself. Like this enigmatic. He's completely man, but he's this enigmatic like force of nature. And he goes up against really bad odds. But he's so resolved. And there's this. So he's a little bit of an evangelist as well. He's got a little bit of Christendom with his character. Because one thing I really do appreciate about his character is that for every villain he's about to vanquish, like he's resolved to cut down, he always asks, and there's a little humor to it too. I do see a little humor in this. Maybe I'm the only person who sees humor in Solomon Kane, but I see a little bit of just kind of humor in that. But he's like, he'll ask questions like with one Frenchman who is like, he's like, "Are you prepared to meet your God?" And then Leloup is like, and then he's like, "I should rephrase that. Are you prepared to meet your master, the devil?" And I love it. Just unabashed religion, and he also says to the people he's about to cut down, he's like, "Have you made peace with God?" Like, I love this. I love the hand of judgment. We need a little hand of judgment. And I was telling the prof last night, I'm like, especially for Christians, but I think for anyone, we need a little damnation in our fiction. Just a little condemnation. And I want everyone to be redeemed. I'm one of those readers and one of those writers. I'm like, I want everyone to see the light. But some people won't. Some people will not see the light. Some people will stay proud and stay evil until they see visions of their crimes laid about before their eyes, and they see the crimson blood of the sea before before Kane impales them, fatally strikes them down. So I kind of like that he's different. He's very unique. He's a very unique character, and I think there doesn't need to be anything changing with that. So there's a lot of great stuff with Solomon Kane. So I'm thoroughly enjoying him as a fictional character. I look forward to finishing those tales. I might make a video regarding him too, but I want to do a lot more music videos for my for my channel. But yeah, for every 10 or 11 videos of music I do, I'll do something like talking about Solomon Kane. All right, just a little bit more. I'm just gonna go for a few minutes more. It's 3.5 hours. Whew, I'm feeling it. I am feeling it. Samuel Parker says, now that I think of it, there's a 70s Batman comic I've read that kind of reads like a Solomon Kane story. A bunch of punk kids rob a store and a kid gets orphaned. And Batman is furious. He hunts them. It's not good for Batman to cut them down, though. You can have that with Solomon Kane, but you can't have that with Batman. You continue one by one using all of theatrics. The thugs rebuke the leader for crossing Batman. Batman gets at them all until he gets to the killer himself, who was more of an unwilling kid who didn't mean it. Yeah. I don't know that story. Vengeance. Spirit of vengeance. We need more good Christian characters like him. Yeah, he's not without flaws. Like, he's a Puritan, so he's... In a way, he's kind of ideological in his motive. But he does believe that evil needs to be vanquished at all costs. So he's a defender of the weak. He's a vanquishing force of good. And so, yeah, I like it. It's so unabashed, it's so unashamed, and he's a very popular character. Yeah, he's a very popular character. There's more to say, but I'm actually kind of feeling it now. It's been 3 hours and 23 minutes. So, I'm gonna leave it at that. I really do, I do enjoy streaming a lot, guys. I thank you for listening to me. It will be the last stream for a little bit until something in my life changes, whether work or creative output or whatever the case is. But it's going to be indefinite. This break is more or less going to be indefinite. Just think of a sabbatical. Think of long term. And then if there is a Sunday night or some day where I feel like streaming off the cuff, then I will. But I don't see that in the future. So thank you guys for just listening and just being so just awesome. You guys are great. You always have really good input. You always have very good feedback, even though most of us are more or less on the same page with pretty much everything, art, social things. You always have your own interesting take. And even on the few occasions that we disagree, you've always been so respectful. And I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all just, I said y'all. No, can't do that. Can't stoop down to that. You all. I think you guys are just really just a great group of people. And I'm not leaving. I'm not disappearing. I'll come in the form of videos, different videos. But thanks always for each and every one of you for your support. And it's not forever. It's just for a little bit. And yeah, Ace is saying I must slumber to recharge. Thanks for being here for like 3.5 hours almost. I knew this was going to be a very, very, very long stream. But you guys are great. And I hope to see you in the comment sections of my videos, music or otherwise. And I will continue to keep producing and preserving and promoting that good art that we all love. And you guys do the same with all your creative endeavors and your own personal experiences. So thank you guys. It's not forever, but it's just for a time. And I will See y'all later.